And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello and welcome to Who's Views. This is your headlines. And is anyone getting a sense of deja vu? Is it just me? Let me know in the chat, because it feels like 2017 all over again. And if you don't know what I mean, then you haven't been paying attention this week, because have you heard? The new leading man of Doctor Who has opened his big gob and is spouting all sorts of nonsense all over the place in various magazines. We're going to be coming to that very shortly to talk about it. Russell T Davies, yes indeed, the alleged showrunner of Doctor Who. He's also been talking in various magazines today, over the last week, and we're going to be looking at what he's saying as well. But isn't it bizarre? Isn't it bizarre, everybody? What is going on right now? Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. I'm just feeling completely and utterly out of it this week because of this, because of what is going on, you know. But before we get to what this guy's saying, yes, there he is. I'm going to be bringing on, let's bring them on. We've got Ian, Third Doctrine, and we've got Paul. Is it just me?
No,
not at all. Yeah, no. Definitely deja vu. Here we go again.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's getting to be totally bizarre, but you know, it is the gift that keeps on giving for content. So let's sort that. I'll also say hello to everybody that's joining us in the chat. Nice to see you, Mark. Thank you for another one. When diversity and inclusion are giving you the blues, it's time to tune in to Who's Views.
Oh, he's good, isn't he?
Yes,
very good.
Yes, fantastic. Yes,
he is very good on that particular one. So let's see who's in there. Thank you everybody for joining us. We've got JFO in there as well. The show needed a Matt Smith type actor or person. An actor is humble with a lot to prove, is convincing as the Doctor, and only wants the best for the show. Ncuti focuses on what's best for Ncuti. That's because he's a raving narcissist, and we are going to be coming to that very, very shortly, aren't we? Listen, everybody, it's great to see you. Hello to Dalek Decimus as well. Hello there. Yes, we are coming to that, as I say. But listen, I just want to say a huge thank you again to everybody that got in touch this week via our email. I really, really appreciate it. This week, of course, was a massive big week. And I had lots of people, including Doug Smith and The Thinking and Mark and lots of other people emailing saying, oh, have you seen this? You're going to talk about this? And the answer to all that is yes, and yes, and yes. But keep bringing it on, everybody. Who's Views One at gmail.com. You know where we are when you see something. And do please email us with all this, because sometimes we might be busy or we might not see it. So it's absolutely fantastic. And I really appreciate all your assistance there. Daryl, it's lovely to see you as well. Promo material is going well, I see, for the show. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That is quite funny, that one. Thank you, Daryl, for that. Yes, so thank you absolutely for everybody. I also want to thank Blue Worm. Let's start the show off with a bit of fun, shall we? I want to thank Blue Worm for sending me a lovely, lovely picture as well, because Blue Worm was watching our review of The Visitation in the week, guys. And you know how he was saying that some of the 80s monsters have very short arms? Yeah, well, he went and illustrated what we mean. There we have The Visitation there on the left, of course, with the pteroleptals. We've got the Frontios Tractatus on the right, and we've got Mestor there from the Twin Dilemma. And yeah, there is a theme there, isn't there, everyone? Can you see the teeny-weeny arms? The poor actors.
Maybe they're all descended from T-Rex.
Don't. That's more like a Star Trek story, isn't it?
Yeah.
But isn't that a lovely picture? Thank you so much, Blue. I know you're in the chat, but thank you so much for sending that to us. Really enjoyed seeing your illustrations. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Right. Oh my goodness. Here we go again then, and we're gonna get through this show whether it kills me or not. Yes, so we're gonna start, if we may. We're gonna come to the new star of the show, our beloved show, very, very shortly. But we're going to start with the showrunner, because have you seen this? This is the latest headline here from SFX, which was published this week. Doctor Who's Russell T Davies responds to tabloid rumors of Millie Gibson's exit as Ruby Sunday is confirmed for season 2. Have you seen this? Well, if you haven't, let's get into it. It's since been revealed that Gibson's Ruby will indeed be back properly in season 2 and will continue to be a companion alongside Andor star Viradu Setu. I do hope I'm saying her name correctly, but I have no idea who she is. Not leaving, not at all. We were ordered for 2 years of a series off Disney. Now I'm going to say that for you again. We were ordered for 2 years of a series off Disney, and we're delivering 2 years. And the Ruby Sunday story literally spans those 2 years. Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies tells SFX magazine in the new issue, which features the sci-fi show on the cover. We are planning to shoot the season 2 finale, in which Ruby has the most magnificent scenes, and Millie, it's some of your most challenging material yet, isn't it? It will all make sense once you see it play out. So obviously this is an interview where Russell T Davies, Millie, and Ncuti Gatwa are all in the same area. Okay, so we'll carry on. It's very unfortunate that these things make the papers, he continues. We're in a very difficult position because you can't answer rumour, you can't speak to rumour, we can't try and pin it down because the internet will just run away and we'll either misinterpret or we'll decide that the Princess of Wales has been replaced by 4 cats in a wig. So it's that you cannot begin to answer this sort of stuff. But you will see the love that we have for Millie and the extraordinary stories that Ruby's about to go on over the next 2 years. I guarantee you that. That is a problem with shooting the second series while you're still doing the first series. All sorts of problems can happen that way that we saw coming. But what do? Stop shooting? No, we're making such a good show. Davis also gives a tiny tease about what to expect from Ruby moving forward. I'm burning for people to see the story. This is where Kirsty's going to have to come in, guys, and tell me. I'm burning. What the hell does this mean? Do you want me?
He needs to go to see a doctor on that one, I think.
Yeah, some kind of cream or liniment.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Nice more figure. That's what I say, Russell. That might help. Anyway, it's amazing and so much mileage in it, and it's still burning. Oh, good grief. This guy is 61 years old, and he's using language that a 12-year-old might even shun at. Goodness me. And it's still burning. It's wonderful. I can't wait for you to see it and hopefully also to put it out, obviously. Ruby Sunday is here to stay. Rumours, spelled incorrectly, that Millie Gibson will be exiting as companion in Doctor Who Season 2 began swirling following a report earlier this year, which indicated that while she'd be present in the second season, Ruby Sunday would no longer be Ncuti Gatwa's companion and would only appear in a handful of episodes. So we know that Millie's coming back. We saw this in the last headline, or one of the last headlines. We talked about this with that official release of the 3 of them together, all this sort of stuff. But what got me more about this? 2 years. And you know, it's 2 years. Disney have funded 2 years. That explains why they're doing it back to back. That explains why they're throwing the money around left, right, and center. And I'm just thinking, after what we're seeing now recently, and let me know what you think about this in Who Views. Your chats are coming in. 2 years, an exit.
Yeah. And they'll cancel their order after 2 years, I'd imagine, certainly.
And probably look for a refund. I don't know.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
With rumours, I mean, yes, it was a misspell, but not if you're American. So Disney deciding that you have to use American spellings now as well.
Well, this was actually, SFX, which is a British magazine.
Yeah.
You know, so I just don't understand this. I just don't get it all at all. Hello to everybody that's in the chat. It's nice to see you all. Thank you. Bring it in. I'm saying a big hello rather than bringing you all up here. Let's get to the conversations here because I am livid. I'm going to be very honest. I am livid with what I've seen over this week. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? In the streams, do you reckon 2 years and then that's it? Would you welcome that? Because I bloody well would. You know, get these 16 episodes or whatever it is out of the way and then get rid.
Based on what I've seen so far, and I had high hopes of the Russell Davies coming back, and I'm really over this now, really am, and it's just seems to get worse and worse.
Mm. It's not good, is it? And saying she's only in a handful of episodes. They're only making a handful of episodes, really, when you think about it. It's not that far away from half of what a series length was when it came back in 2005, and it's a fraction of the episodes that they had in the classic proper series. But it's just a parody, really. It's embarrassing, and it gets worse and worse, or funnier and funnier as the weeks go on, as we come to this date in May, which is going to be very interesting, isn't it?
Well, it's going to be ridiculous. I like this from Garbage here. No, this is tongue in cheek from Garbage, I'm sure. The UK cannot wait for this show to start. The promo, the trailers, the news articles have been amazing so far. Everyone is on the edge of a seat in anticipation of this show starting. And if you are outside the UK, nothing could be far from the truth. Nobody knows it's around. Nobody actually seems to care. Raymond is with us, gentlemen, saying, just when I think things couldn't get worse, Ncuti opens his big mouth. Oh, sorry, I put the word big in there. The BBC DEI didn't earn it. Policy is in full flow. And Ncuti is a huge beneficiary of that. And yet racism, it's nonsense. Yes, we are coming to that. Stay tuned with us. Tell your mates. Paul, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I forgot. I've lost my thread. I was going to just say about it, just in terms of the so-called quality of promotion so far, what we have had so far, looking at that wonderful clock thing that Ncuti did for that magazine, and his lovely kilt and tartan top. That was amazing. I thought, this is Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah, we are going to come to that as well. We've got that there for you. Let's just say hello to everybody else that's in the chat there. Paul is with us as well. Paul, I want to say a big congratulations to Paul again. Paul came on to Who's Master, which we dropped on Friday. So well done again to Paul. It's lovely to see you again, mate. And yeah, hope you enjoyed seeing yourself on there. So well done. Well done. Well done.
It was a great episode.
It was very good. Those AIs are cracking, Garbage. They're really tough. You got me, I'll tell you, they were good. Yeah.
Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, is saying we are the true fans. It's sad that Doctor Who is in the hands of the incompetent. The problem is, I think that some of them are competent. I think they're just blinded by virtue signaling BS, quite frankly. Divining Dragon is with us. Hello, DD. Getting through this show won't kill you. Actually watching the 2 Disney seasons, that'll do it. Yes, Dr. Disney is starting very soon, as we know. And yeah, if you don't want to watch it, come and watch us on Sunday nights, because we are.
Yeah,
we'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I will, to be quite. I might need a load of chocolate. Hi, JWC Reviews. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see Simon L as well. Thank you, Simon L. Michael is with us as well. Hello, Michael. And Jack is saying Russell and Ncuti's attempt at the show is already over before it started. They're morons if they think otherwise. Now, this is an excellent point, isn't it, guys? Because this, as I said at the top of the show, this reminds me of 2017 when the certain lead then opened her big mouth and started going on about all that nonsense. So that switched an awful lot of people on. Similarly now, and yet on the same page, we've got all this stuff coming out, you know, and it's just we are going to be dealing with this an awful lot more. I want to go back to Russell T Davies first, though. Go on, Paul.
I was going to say, it's almost as if the production office or the PR people are reading the same script as like 5 years ago. It's incredible, isn't it? It's like can you change your tune? Tell us something new. Make it different.
You know what? It's probably because, Paul, a lot of them are fresh out of universities and colleges, which are indoctrinating these people with these stupid, extreme left-wing ideological fantasies.
Yeah.
And then they come into the show business, and we all know show business is enslaved to this nonsense. It really, really is. And again, we've got illustrations of that in this particular show. Russell T Davies didn't stop there about talking and confirming that the Disney money is for 2 years. Too long for me. But he also started going on about this, didn't he? This is from Screen Rant. Doctor Who showrunner reveals companion mystery arc is inspired by a controversial story. I would have put story myself in inverted commas. Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies says companion Ruby Sunday's character arc will take after one of the show's most controversial plots. We've got the details here. The Ruby Sunday's character arc in Doctor Who season 14 mirrors the controversial plot point, the timeless child. Russell T Davies emphasizes the importance of Ruby Sunday's role, and Davies hints at exciting developments for Ruby Sunday in the next season after season 14, indicating the reports of her exit were incorrect. So are you ready for this one? Because this ties in with what he was saying about the series too. Here we go. Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies reveals a controversial aspect of Ruby Sunday's character arc. Played by Millie Gibson, Ruby is one of the up-and-coming companions for Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor in Doctor Who Season 14, otherwise known as Series 1, according to BBC Studios, Bad Wolf and Disney+. Debuting in the holiday special The Church on Ruby Road, Gibson made history as the youngest companion actor in the show's history. Season 14 will continue Ruby's journey as it kicks off on May the 11th. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly, Davies confirms one key aspect of Ruby's character. According to the showrunner, Ruby's arc is inspired by the timeless child plot point. Yes, I want you all to take a deep breath right now. Take a deep breath and an Aladdin. This, oh, I shouldn't say that, should I? Don't do that bit. This is shown through the mirroring of the Doctor's orphan status. When Ruby's orphan story, Davis went on to stress how vital Ruby is to Doctor Who season 14. That story is going to be the spine of the whole show. We're heading into season 2, and my God, Ruby Sunday is important to that. There's good stuff to come. You had one job, RTD.
Yeah. Can I just say other headache tablets are available? It's funny, he referenced this a little bit, the Timeless Children in the Christmas one, about the fact the Doctor's adopted. So, or that's what he believes at this point. So I'm hoping that this is just an awful plot point to pick up. Is why are you bothering? It's not even worth following up, is it? It's just awful.
The thing is, though, it's not Doctor Who either. It's a person traveling around in a blue box that's bigger on the inside than the outside through time and space, and getting into scrapes and fixing things and having fun. That's what Doctor Who's about. It's not about some child that was left in a church and what her backstory is and all that kind of thing. It's more social story nonsense that's Coronation Street or EastEnders, and it's the stuff that he can't move away from. He did all this social stuff with Rose, the original Rose, not the other Rose, because he can't help it, can he? He has to regurgitate everything. He's done
that deliberately as well, didn't he, by calling him Rose? I mean, it was just nonsense, absolute nonsense.
Absolutely. But if I can just sort of like reference the other bit that you opened with that, and he was talking about the fact that she is back for series 2 and everything else, and they couldn't respond to stuff. Yes, they could. He's talking crap. They could. It started in the mainstream media first, and fandom picked it up. It wasn't the other way around. And they could have just said, we're carrying on with production of series 2, which features him and her end. And that would have killed it. But they left it going, and it might have caused her distress. Who knows? Who cares? But they could have done it then. What he's saying now is absolute bollocks.
From my point of view, Ian, all he had to do was come back to the show and not acknowledge what had just happened, because they all know it was a massive flop. And they all knew that millions of Doctor Who fans in the United Kingdom and across the world were not watching the bugger. They weren't watching it. It was a spectacular failure, the Chibnall era. We all know that. They just won't acknowledge it. But no, they had to go and double down, triple down, in fact. And it's got to be this, and it's got to be this, and it's got to be this. And you will obey. I've said it before. They look down on all of us. We are there to be educated and informed by their ideology and what they want to do. And it's about time we turn around and said, no, we've had enough, because it's just ridiculous. And that's why I'm saying, firstly, I'm calling for an investigation. We'll tie this into what we're talking about soon. I'm calling for investigations into both Doctor Who and the BBC as a whole. And secondly, 2 years, then end it. Get rid of it so we can go back and try and appreciate Doctor Who and wait for somebody who knows what the bloody show's about to come and do it. It's just shocking here. Just Jordan, you put this up for us. I hope you're okay. Missed so much this week, has been living in the hospital, but did catch Who's Master though. I hope you're all right, sweetie. So thank you for tuning in tonight and being with us tonight. Really pleased, and I hope you're okay. Divining Dragon Paul is saying to us he's backtracking now. Disney and the BBC demanded Gibson's departure. RTD wrote in the diverse replacement. Then they had to bring back Gibson to offset the blowback. Do you reckon, Divining Dragon? Oh, that's interesting. What do you think about that, Paul?
Well, I don't know if when we'll ever find out, because that'll be another 10 years down the line if you're still interested at that point. But the thing of it is the fact that why didn't they just cancel Doctor Who after Jodie? Because you're just adding more nails to the coffin and making it even more embarrassing than it was when Chibnall was doing it.
Well, I can answer that for you, Paul. Obviously, what they thought is RTD at this point, with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, said, wouldn't it be great if we could do it again? And BBC Studios trusted him to deliver what he delivered in 2005, 2006, 2007, and especially 2008. But he's not the same. We've discussed this before. We've said this before on the show, haven't we? He's not the same RTD as he was back then. He's now a 60-year-old man desperately hanging on to stay relevant so that nobody replaces him. In my eyes, that's my opinion, because he's that age now where a new lot should be coming through and saying, you've had your day, bugger off. That's what I reckon. And I think that's why he's doing all this bending of the knee, virtue signaling, as well as the fact that he passionately believes all this TQI nonsense as well. He's part of that awful cult. You know, it's all there, isn't it? I think that's what they're doing. I think that's what the BBC Studios did. But let's see what happens in 2 years. Stay with us. Make sure you subscribe and stay with us, because I'm going to be looking at this with this lot, hopefully, all the way through.
Like I said, I think in a previous show, I think we won't have to wait 2 years to find out. They'll film series 2, and we'll know by then before it starts next year.
We'll probably know next year. Yeah, we'll probably know next year. Steve's with us. Hiya, Steve. And it burns, burns, burns. That ring of fire.
Yeah, too many curries. That's what that is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sit on a ring.
Yeah, and thanks for your email this week, Steve, as well. Really appreciate it. Lovely. I want to say thank you, as usual, to Kirsty and Garbage, really important members of the team. They are making sure everybody is fine and dandy in the chat. And Kirsty is saying to me, he's still cooking it, JT. It's hot.
Definitely bumped it, that's for sure.
And on the back of that, Garbage is saying, with this track record, I call BS on this article from RTD. Absolutely. Blue Worm is saying to us, research shows that RTD is responsible for 80% of smog in the atmosphere. I'm not going to argue with that, am I? Not at all. Is it just, I mean, it's obviously not just me. I can see it there. They are really, really, really getting on my nerves every single time now. I'm just thinking, what are you doing? You're supposed to be producing a cult science fiction television British legend, and you just can't help yourselves. You have to open your big gobs all the time, don't you? What on earth?
I think, though, if he hadn't done it, say he wasn't doing it, and say Disney took it over, we'd still be in the same position, because Disney suffers from the same BS, don't they? They suffer from the same quality of programming that they do based on what the BBC are doing now. So that they're just singing from the same hymn sheet, aren't they? Both of them, you know.
I think it's more clear now than it ever has been that RTD is obviously pushing an agenda, and it makes me think that the only reason he got Gatwa as the Doctor was because he is this allegedly trans-identifying person now, rather than just gay. He's a trans identifier, isn't he? Isn't that what he's claiming? And I think that's the only Gatwa.
No, I don't think he's using the Q word for himself. We are going to be talking about that in a few minutes, Ian. So let's clear that up there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Neville, hello, Neville. Nice to see you. It's looking like it. Meanwhile, they will wring its neck. This is what I'm concerned about, guys, is that this is the final thing for Doctor Who now. This is not going to work. I am absolutely putting my what do you call it, hat on the ring or whatever. I don't know. I'm saying it out there. This show is not going to work. This is going to be a massive flop. Lots of money down the toilet. Flush it. You know, do it. Yeah. It's not going to be huge. It's not going to be popular. You're not going to see the experience. You're not going to see any of that again. Nobody's going to watch this silly thing. It's that's what I think. So. On the back,
I know that, though, don't you think?
What?
I think they already know that now, don't you think? Because we've had all that tentative stuff from RTD already about, well, it might happen if it's right. You know, if the mood's right for it, there might be an exhibition. There might be spin-offs. Maybe we'll see. You know, so I think they're already finished. I think.
They've gone very quiet, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, to an extent, and now we've got all this stuff with Gatwa that we're going to come to in a second. But we've got all this. We've got all this stuff going on now, haven't we? It's still out of tune, Paul. As we've been saying forever, there's a drag queen coming up. There's another trans character coming up who's allegedly supposed to be 15, 16, or has she aged? I don't know what's going on there. Out of touch with what's going on in the public now. So we've got all that element going to come into it. I don't think this show will be able to come back for a long time. I think we are going to have to be looking at another 15+ year hiatus after this version is done and dusted. They messed it up. They have the opportunity to bring everybody back, make a good show with more money than the show's ever seen before. But no, they had to go off on some sort of culting rant, didn't they? Douglas is saying to us here as well, I'm sure the Welsh government can prop it up a little more. You never know.
They're out of props now, I think, to be fair.
The reviews and responses, says Divining Dragon, will be so negative. Disney won't finance a new season. And Garbage says Disney doesn't care if it's good or bad. If they want to make more, they will, but we want it cancelled, so just stop it.
Realise we have to do reverse psychology here. We have to say we love it, and then they'll stop it. If we say we hate it, they'll keep it going. They will. So,
I think I don't know. Hello, Doug. Good morning to you. I'm sure you're up very, very early where you are. I'm sure you are. But anyway, did anyone really care that Ncuti was black or gay? Still trying to be positive about this series. Now I find out I need to separate the art from the artist to even watch. Again, that's all. Again, if you went through all that nonsense with Chibnall, you're going to be doing it again. Why can't they just keep their mouths shut? Because nobody did care he was black. Or actually, he's not even calling himself gay, is he? He's actually offensive in my eyes. Going to be coming to that very shortly as to what he labels himself as. Bobby D75, nice to see you. The RTD and Ncuti Dumpster Fire Show. That's a brand new title. I think they should call it that rather than Doctor Who, because calling it Doctor Who is an insult to what we know as Doctor Who. After this run, says Jack, it'll be 10 years of awful, awful Doctor Who. There's nothing left to say. I don't think it's going to get anything more than that. I really don't. And Dalek, I love you. Hello to you. Bring on the independent fan films to keep us going through the next wilderness years. Yes, and that's what we talked about in the week, wasn't it, as well, with the Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion film. And I'm sure there's others coming as well. Because if one thing about Doctor Who in the last reboot era, it has still inspired fans just like it always did. Lex is saying the new Doctor is not winning me over. Is he winning any of us over? Because he keeps opening his mouth and putting his foot in it.
The trouble is not really the Doctor, is he, to be fair? I think even at this stage.
Yeah, no, exactly. Raymond is saying, get rid and end it. I don't want another drag artist playing the Doctor. And Blue Worm is saying to us, too bad Gatwa resorted to playing his victim card instead of putting his talent out there and let to be judged on its merits. That's exactly what I was going to say that later on in the show. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant point there. Absolutely brilliant point. But they don't seem to care about that anymore, do they? It's just all about, me, and absorb. But those things about Russell T Davies, 2 years funding from Disney, and Millie Gibson's back, which we knew, and The Timeless Child inspired the next two series.
Yeah.
Which the British public and the majority of the fans didn't watch. Who's he writing it for, guys?
Who knows? But he kept all that quiet, though, because I was optimistic that Disney had bought it or whatever, or would have stream it, had the rights to stream it. But he didn't tell us about just 2 years, because that seems a bit negative. So they kept that quiet, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, man. Your chat is fantastic, everybody. Keep it all coming, and I'll do what I can to select bits and put it out. Like this one from Doug. I fear the series will be closer to Docky Who than Doctor Who, an annoying term the younger fans have adopted. Yes, well, they should be locked in a padded cell. What happened to discipline with kids? What happened to appropriate adults around them who were actually, sensible and telling them right from wrong and stop pandering to the nonsense, and why are most of them now in education teaching them all this nonsense? I don't know.
I'm hoping that the Doctor might say, "Don't call me Docky" at some point in this show. That'll be interesting.
I just think the adults are being legislated out of the way by the law. The younger element talk absolute shit. They're obsessed with, or this element of, they're obsessed with the pronouns and all that bollocks. But the thing is, the things they come out with, you can't correct them, because we've seen how many cases of people being arrested for stating biological truths or other kind of truths. It's almost like, well, if they can't cope with the truth, then you can't tell them the truth, so we'll arrest you so you don't speak the truth. And what kind of world is it? The adults aren't allowed to adult anymore, so you are going to get a load of incapable, spineless melts, which is what we've got.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we sort of saw that coming in with the 4 excuses for television that they came up with last year, didn't they? And as I've said before, the fact that they keep telling him he's wonderful, he's brilliant, and he's marvelous. Stop lying. Get a grip, people. But they're so indoctrinated and they're so into all this nonsense in the show business industry now, It's just ridiculous. And they're saying things either because they're terrified of being cancelled and therefore not getting any more work, which we know happens. We know it. We've seen the proof over the last few years that happens with these people, or they're desperate enough to go along with it just for the sake, or they believe in it themselves, which we also know happens. Darren is making me laugh with this comment: groan, not the timeless drivel again. Yes, we're going to get 2 more years of it. Speaking of somebody that didn't watch the Chibnall era and has the t-shirt to prove it, because I'm very, very proud that I avoided that load of crap, I'm dreading coming into this because there was a moment in the Deep Blue Sea one, whatever it's called. What's it called?
Wild Blue Yonder.
Thank you.
Deep Blue Sea's a chippy, I think, somewhere. I think.
Yeah, it's also a song. But yeah, that nonsensical episode, right? And I was lost because they were talking about all this, and I'm thinking that's not the Doctor. I don't know who that is. What they're talking about? The Doctor isn't an orphan. He's from Gallifrey. That's where we think his parents were from. Why are they blowing the lid off this again? Double down, and now they're tripling down. Typical. And I sometimes think it's Russell just saying, "I'm going to support my mate Chris," even though down here somewhere I might think it was a load of old crap. Do you know what I'm saying? Hypocrites.
It's either that or he's gonna address it and then shut it down and then move on. But who knows? I doubt it though. But...
Yeah. Kirsty is saying to you all here, please hit the like button and subscribe so that she can buy me some paracetamols. I think, Kirst, by the end of our Who's Views reviews on this these shows coming up, I'm going to need something else. I'm going to need some sort of stabilizer or something, to be quite honest, because I can feel my blood raging with all this already. Mark is saying to us here, Mark, master of the taglines, is saying to us here, in 2 years, Disney will drop Doctor Who from Disney Plus, allowing Disney Plus to do another tax write-down, just like in 2022, when they pulled more than 30 shows and saved $1.5 billion in tax deductions. How they can get away with that, I have no idea. Surely that should be criminal.
Yeah.
Well, that's the tax system for you, allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand. I don't pretend to understand American law or tax, because doesn't it change from state to state to state as well? Whereas in the United Kingdom, of course, it's supposedly supposed to be the same across the land, across the United Kingdom. Well, of course, we've got all these devolved things going on now, most of which are corrupt as well. But yeah, so I think that's shocking. That, and thanks for that, Mark. It is ridiculous that they can do that. But I think they're right. I think they're going to look at this, especially when, and I'm going to say this again now, especially when we know that a lot of our friends here on the channel are actually using the iPlayer from outside the UK. So why would you pay for Disney Plus when you can get it for free on the iPlayer?
Yeah.
And the BBC studios still are not listening to me by what they should do with that, by make it available outside the UK, but let people subscribe to it for something like, I don't know, $20 a month or something ridiculous. I don't know, because the content that the BBC has there goes back 100 years. So there's something for everybody there, isn't it? So instead of messing around with a channel like BBC America or something ridiculous like that, just release the iPlayer, because guess what? They're all watching it anyway. Make some money for it, and then you've got a lovely, lovely thing ready for when the license fee gets scrapped.
Sooner the better.
Yeah,
it's on the way.
Yeah.
I swear, it's on the way. Simon is asking, how is everyone? I'm about to blow a fuse, Simon.
We're calm. It's calm.
They're calm. I'm not. I'm raging this week. I'm just thinking blah, 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 every time something else crops up. Absolutely shocking. Hello, Mike. Mike C32001. Never seen you on the channel before. Welcome to Who's Views. Have you subscribed? I do hope so. And where have you been? Where have you been? It's lovely to see you. But he's saying Dr. Prancing Fairy. As a gamer myself, Mike, I'm going to agree with you on that one. Honest to God, what is he doing? Blue Worm is saying, congratulations, RTD. You've managed to make JNT's most embarrassing episodes look pure gold. And we will be proving that this week here on the channel when we watch and review Delta and the Bannermen.
Which is superb, by the way. One of my favourite stories. No spoilers.
Love it.
I've watched it for the review for the first time in God knows how long, and I'd rather watch that several times a week than anything that was produced in 2023. That's all I'm saying right now. Make sure you come back and watch our reviews of Delta and the Bannermen later this week. Dalek Decimus, God love you. I guess this is why Davros is no longer disabled. They don't want to be seen villainizing a minority. I personally never saw him as a disabled, but half his creation. That was exactly the reason they gave last year, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah,
absolutely. But then they'll quite happily put somebody, a main character from UNIT, in a wheelchair and strap rockets to it.
The thing about this, they need to show...
Joe 90. Sorry, Paul.
It's so very much Joe 90, yeah. They need to show different sides of people, you know? Every walk of life has people who aren't always pleasant, you know? The disabled people aren't nice. There's white people aren't nice. There's black people aren't nice. There's lots of different people, you know, in society that have to be represented. So why does it matter? Why can't you make Davros a villain?
Well, you mentioned the word, and I hate that bloody word, as you all know. Representation. I can't stand it. Why do we have to have representation in absolutely everything? Doctor Who is a science fiction show. It's about a Time Lord, a male Time Lord, by the way, who nicked a TARDIS from his home planet of Gallifrey and zooshes through time and space, battling monsters. How many more times do I have to tell these people in Wales this, in Cardiff? That's the show. You don't need anything else. How can you be representative of a Dalek or a Cyberman or a Tractator or a Pterodactyl? That's not what it's about. And yet they shove it in everywhere. They even did it last year in those god-awful things, didn't they, before Christmas, where they even showed the ramp in the police box. Even though in the 70s, K9 managed to get in and out of that bloody box for 3 years, and we all used our imagination. That's all we needed to do. They didn't need to just bend the knee and show it, did they? It's embarrassing. Hello to Atom. It's lovely to see you. Hope everything is well with you. Hey, old chat. Happy Sunday. Hello, all you mediocre celebrated white males. Yes, indeed. And we are coming to that very, very shortly. Bobby, nostalgia failed with the 60th. Was there anything in the 60th that was nostalgia apart from Bonnie? Can you think of anything else?
The season 15 DVD trailer.
Yes. Yeah. Roll on the next Blu-ray box set, please. Thank you very much.
That was the highlight of any new material. It was that.
Yeah.
It was actually, wasn't it? Well done, you. Matty says, yes, JT, end it after the 2 years and put everything post-Capaldi as a Dallas Dream sequence. Do you know what, Matty? I wouldn't. Hello to you, by the way. Do you know what? I wouldn't even bother giving what's happened since 2017 the time of day. And it's got such a small minority of the fans that like it. Let them enjoy it. But I'd reboot the bloody thing. And I wouldn't even tell you what number the Doctor was. I'd just say, this is the Doctor. He's a white male. And off we go. Call me what you like. I don't give a toss at this particular point. I really, really don't, because I'm sick of all this. Raymond is saying to us, do you think they are getting their excuses in early? When it fails, you know, it's all us. Old gammons, they will get the blame. Well, it's exactly the same pattern, isn't it, that they did with the Chibnall and Whittaker era, isn't it, guys?
The thing is, it's not for us anyway, so we can complain how we like, can't we?
Absolutely. And it's not made for us. Our opinions don't count for shit because they make that obvious anyway. And as I was going to say hetero white males, obviously I do apologize on that one.
How very dare you.
I know, but as we're middle-aging then white males, we don't have a voice anyway, so they can't stop it, JT. They can't
life, to be quite
they can't say it's our fault because our opinions don't count. We don't have opinions.
No, we're not allowed them. We are not allowed them. And, you know, I mean, we know that in the industry. I have got a lot of white male actor friends right now, and the majority of them, bless them for their sins, are heterosexual, and they can't get any work. They cannot. But even the gay ones cannot get any work now, you know? And I think that's disgusting because they're fabulous talents. But, you know, they're just, everybody's told, no, there's nothing for you out there. John is saying RTD has lost it big time. I think he totally, absolutely has. It really has several times over, I think. Let's have a look. Atom is also saying, boy, Ncuti sure went out of his way to really attack white fans of Doctor Who. Goodness me. Darren is saying here, RTD means really tedious drivel. Someone write that down. We might use that. I'm Madeline Funk. Hello, nice to see you, mate. I can't bring myself to watch the new series. I'll just watch the Who's Views reaction and watch the series burn to the ground from a distance. I'm so jealous of you because I'd rather watch us than that.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, really, really, really. Mark is saying
a good service.
Somebody said that to us. What a service you provide. I was dead chuffed with all the comments we get. Disney, says Mark, will remove Doctor Who from its streaming platforms to cut spending on residual payments, which could amount to a substantial tax break. Okay, that's right there. And Steve, you are wicked, but quite correct. Saying DEI's knee. Oh, goodness me. But it's all good. Well, listen, you've all seen this, obviously, and you're all aware of this. So let's move on to the big topic we've got this evening. And it does involve this fella here, doesn't it? Yes, the one and only Ncuti Gatwa, who's really made himself, or really made a name for himself, and probably not for all the right reasons this week. I mean, goodness me, this is the new lead of Doctor Who. Now, just to remind people outside the United Kingdom, Doctor Who is, because I've seen people out to the UK, and no offense to anybody from America, but they were American. saying on X this week that Doctor Who isn't a children's show. Let's put this to bed together. Yes, it is. Doctor Who is a traditional family drama. It was always designed for the family viewing time. Even in the 80s, when they moved it to 7 o'clock, it got even more popular with the families. And seeing as video recorders were coming in, then some of the parents who put their young ones to bed would play it back to them the next day or whenever as well. Or they were actually, I know that one of my friends, he would show his younger brother all 4 episodes of a show in one go. So he was actually ahead of his time there in the 80s. Remember? You know what I'm saying?
Binge watching in the 80s, super.
Absolutely, on your video. But you did really, when you think about it, you put your episodes in and you watched Dark of Infinity 1, 2, 3, 4 after the thing had been shown, hadn't you? Or Mordrin, and you did it all. Anyway, but this is the fact. In the United Kingdom, Doctor Who has always been, since the 23rd of November 1963, family viewing. It should still be family viewing. But with the emergence of things like the cash report and other things that are going on in the United Kingdom now, it really isn't. And I don't think they thought about that. And I don't think they were too bothered about it. But anyway, we'll come to that in a second. Let's get into what Mr. Gatwa has been saying. Firstly, there was this from the Daily Express Online. BBC Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa issues 4-word response over hate aimed at series. Now, I want to clarify my opinion on this word hate. It means nothing now because they use it all the time. Anything that people don't agree with is now hate. No, it's not. It's an opinion. You don't have to agree with other people. You have no idea what hate can mean unless you've actually been involved with it. And I can say that as a gay man who grew up in the 80s and 90s. So I know what hate is. I see the vitriol. I've seen that in people's eyes. This is not hate. But we've got a whole generation and a whole load of people around that generation, gentlemen, who are using that slur or that word. And it's just nonsensical. It means nothing. Let's see what he said in this particular article. It's not something I've avidly kept up on. The hate, it's a kind of fascinating to me because there's so much energy they're putting into it. I think they need to go find a hobby is one thing, he said. That's Ncuti Gatwa. But another thing... Yeah, but another thing is that we do see a shift happening in casting, in positions of power and in the status quo. I mean, not a fast shift. Things could tip over the way a little bit quicker, but you see people kind of malfunctioning because things are changing. The 31-year-old Barbie star pondered in the latest issue of Attitude magazine. While Ncuti's casting may have raised a few eyebrows, he is not the first black person to play the Doctor. That honour falls to Joe Martin, who plays the fugitive Doctor and was introduced to audiences during Jodie Whittaker's tenure as the 13th Doctor, although he is the first black person to helm an entire series in the role. The show's casting in recent times has been incredibly diverse. Aside from having not one but 2 female doctors in Jodie and Joe, they have also welcomed a trans character to the cast. Is anyone surprised by this? I'm surprised by the Daily Express, to be quite honest, writing that up.
Yeah.
Or reprinting that.
Like you, I'm frustrated by the terminology of hate and stuff. There's a difference between hate and disliking something. You know, hate's an extreme way of putting it. It's not like that at all. You know, it's just you're allowed to have an opinion. If you don't like something, that's fine. Let's discuss it.
But to them, Paul, you're not allowed to have an opinion. And if you express your opinion and it doesn't tally with their version of the worldview, you are expressing hate. Whereas if they object to everything that defines you, that's not hate. That's them expressing their whatever, insert term here, ness. You know, and it's that gross inequality that just shows, though, that we can take that, absorb, process, and respond. They can't. They have a meltdown because they go from hate and then they trundle out the far right and all the rest, and the fascist and the N-words and everything else. And I don't mean the black reference, I mean the Third Reich one. And because that's all they fall back on, because that's all they've got. But it starts with that use of the word hate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nonsense, isn't it? I mean, I keep asking myself as well, how the hell did we get to where we are now? I remember at the turn of the century, guys, having spent years being an LGBT activist, actually saying to friends, I think we're there, because things seem to be a bit calmer. Nobody was actually labeling anybody anymore. Nobody was looking at skin color, it seemed. Nobody was looking at sexuality, it seemed. Nobody was actually looking at, yes, there were more to do with women's rights, don't get me wrong at all. There was more to do, and there were glass ceilings that we had to inform and support for women. Yes, that was still there at the turn of the century, but it did seem to be on a basic level of understanding and respect in this country. Where the hell did this go wrong, and what actually happened? We've got Paul joining us here, Paul, and Ian. We've got Paul Richards saying hello. It's lovely to see you. Thank you very much. What else? Goodness me, you've got so many things going on in the chat. It's lovely to see you all. Jack is saying to us all, keep the timeless child story, get rid of it. I don't care anymore. Either way, really. John is saying to us, never watch Chibnall's drivel. Neither did I, John, so it's you and me against the universe, care to tell you. And Douglas saying, can't wait until May the 12th for the Who's review of the new season. I think JT is going to have to watch his blood pressure. I might have to have a lovely nurse here, ready to do this. But we do have something ready for this, don't we, guys? Actually, we do have, and we're going to need it now on this particular show as well. Because remember, we are here for you, and we do have a particular service for this. And by goodness, I will be phoning that hotline a little bit later on after this show. But thank you all for joining us. There's been so many articles this week with Ncuti. The big two, Entertainment Weekly and Attitude. So let's get to this particular one here. This is Entertainment Weekly, and that's the picture you were talking about before.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also a video about this. I'm sure you have seen this thing. It was put onto TikTok and all those things as well to try and drive an audience towards this version of the show. But this is from Ncuti Gatwa's very own Instagram. There's a new Time Lord in town, he said. We talked about this earlier in the week as well. This, I am assuming, is one of the Doctor's costumes, because he's holding the sonic, well, it's not even a screwdriver anymore, he's holding the sonic device, as the Pteroleptal leader said in the Visitation. He's holding it there. He uses it in this trailer, doesn't he, as well? Can you tell where I'm at? Can you tell? It's just nonsense, isn't it? But in Entertainment Weekly, an awful lot of material content came out through this interview. Let's start into it. This is from Ncuti Gatwa. That's what I'm going to put into the universe. I need the Doctor to have a big, fierce dance routine that, destroys a monster, we're twerking. Or maybe some death drops, and that's what will drop the monster. Can somebody please explain to me what he's talking about? What does he mean? What is this?
I've no idea, but I'm looking forward to that.
I speak English. What the hell is this? Oh, Paul's gone. But what the hell is this? I'll read it out again. That's what I'm going to put into the universe. That's what I'm going to put into the universe. He's going to put in twerking into the universe, everybody. I mean, for crying out loud. The kids are going to look at this thing and switch it off. Never mind the adults.
To be fair, there'll be a lot of people have trouble switching it on at all, to be honest.
I mean, BBC, inform, educate and entertain. Doctor Who started out with a very similar ethos, really, with the mildly educational stories and that kind of thing. And we fast forward to 2024, and the idiot that's taken the lead role is announcing that you should be defeating the aliens by wobbling your lard ass at it. Jesus H. Christ.
It does smack of some sort of desperation, doesn't it? And it doesn't seem to me, after starting a little bit sort of on the fence, he's now gone over, because I think what happens with these people is because they've been working in this very tight bubble, as we know about, and it has been expressed as a bubble before, so I'm not saying anything from my particular mind. That's what previous stars of the show, more sane stars of the show, have said. It's a bubble because they're trapped in this bubble for so long. And I think because of that, they've been empowered by people like RTD, etc., who have these agendas, and they've become more confident in being able to say it. But you know what? They come into the real world, and people who are sane, like hopefully ourselves on good days, will come out and call them out to it. I'm just saying, look, what you're talking about, it's absolute nonsense.
I'm hoping this is actually a joke, and he's just having a laugh, you know, and it's not anything serious. But in my heart of hearts, I think he is being serious. That's the problem.
I think he's being totally serious, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Tom Baker once came out and said that he did he not propose having something like a talking cabbage?
Yes, as a companion.
Yeah.
That was never, you know, now, if Gatwa said talking, it'd be there.
Yeah.
It'd be there, you know, and it'd be a trans cabbage. It'd probably identify as a lettuce or something like that.
And Disney's got the rights to the Muppets as well, haven't they? So that'll be the cabbage on the
Oh, I
show.
know.
Yes.
And look what happened to them.
It would match the cabbages that were writing the damn thing as well, though, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Look what happened to the Muppets when Disney took it over. That was long before Disney got really greedy and took everything in the entire world, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and they ruined them to an extent, and then they didn't have them for a while, and then they did again. And I think they were always better when they weren't anything to do with them, and the organization could go off and do what they want to. I'd like to say hello to This Channel Is Under Repair. Nice to see you. Welcome, 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 welcome. John is saying to us here as well, produced by the drama department back in the day. Yeah, and now it's just drawn by the clown department. Oh, I don't know. Blue Worm is saying to us, if someone says maybe you shouldn't, it's hate speech today.
Yeah.
And here he is here. Welcome to This Channel Is Under Repair. You've got a Product Enterprise Tom there, I see. I'm sure that's a Product Enterprise one from there. That isn't true. The first Black Doctor was Lenny Henry. Yeah, and it seems like Ncuti's basing himself on him as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to the Rupert the Bear trousers. They'll be next.
It's a matter of time seeing some of the nonsense he's been wearing.
Paul, our star of the latest edition of Who's Master, along with Ian Cody W1, I wouldn't let my kids watch this show, especially not with Gatwa's utterly ignorant and repulsive views. He can keep his role and stick it in the same place as that sonic screwdriver. The guy's a creep. I must admit, I'm with you there as well. He really, really has not surprised me. I don't know what the word is there, but you know, just confirmed.
Disappointed you, I think.
Disappointed, yeah, but confirmed my suspicions as well, Paul.
Yeah.
Because go on, Ian.
He's got confident being in that bubble. He's got confident, and the mask has dropped.
Yeah,
I think now we're seeing him for what he is.
But again, history repeating. He's doing exactly what Whittaker did, Ian.
Yeah, totally. Because I was, as a white male, I was petrified of her gender. So I was glad that she acknowledged it and said that I didn't need to be, because I was terrified of her gender.
Yeah, I remember that. Just thinking, what do you mean? We're all just absolute nonsense, isn't it? John is saying we used to have actors playing the Doctor that had class, not anymore. Now, this I totally agree with, John, because again, and I'm going to say this right now, I genuinely believe that this is the second miscasting of the Doctor in Doctor Who in its entire history. And I'm saying that because of what we're going to be talking about next and what we've seen this week. I'm not even talking about the fact that I've only seen him perform it once, you know, because this is a star show. This is a star-making show as well. And yes, the actors of old were selected on acting. And I genuinely believe today that the previous role, the previous lead, and this current lead, I don't think that was any part of it. I don't think that's got any. I mean, prove me wrong. I don't think that was anything to do with it. I think it was other actions there. I think it was the quotas.
I agree completely with this, because I think that not every actor can play the Doctor, and I think it's about getting the right actor to do it. A lot of good actors about, but not everyone can play that part. And I don't think either Jodie or disappointingly Ncuti's. Now I was going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but I think he's been wrongly cast as well. And I know he's done one episode, and sometimes other Doctors, you don't immediately warm to them immediately. First episode, maybe a couple into it, you get into it and quite like them. But I've really got my doubts. I think he's wrongly cast.
Well, I was saying in our review of the Christmas thing, there was potential.
Yeah.
I hate to see where that's going now, because I think the potential where I would say play it straight, I think the potential is going to go that. And we're about to see our biggest campist give me the loving Doctor ever. I mean, the Doctor wouldn't say such a stupid line. And the fact that this week Ncuti, I mean, it's going to come into the show as well. Ncuti has said that his Doctor is going to be the most modern Doctor. misses the point of what Doctor Who is, because the Doctor isn't modern. Mark is saying to us here, I'm an American and I know that Doctor Who is British, has a male lead and is a family show. End of. Yeah. And I'm glad you do, Mark, but I'm afraid some of your countrymen, of what I can say this week, don't. But they do tend to be, no disrespect, the kids that have grown up with the last 4 or 5 years. Not the bigger picture, the ones that won't even go back and look at a William Hartnell or Pat Troughton, for example. This channel is under a pair saying, I remember when people thought Jodie was the worst Doctor and Chibnall was the worst writer. I miss those days. You know what? I've seen that over the last few days, more and more, with people going, oh God, we should have shut up and got on with it. Douglas Smith is saying to us, this is just preparation for when the show underperforms. And Richard is with us saying the cancel culture trolls are deluded that they will always be in a power to cancel. They do not understand the counterintuitive need for a level playing field, because the other side can use the same. That's a good point. And Paul is saying to us here, Paul Richards is saying, where's the inclusivity for unusual looking and older actors? The Doctor used to be a role for people who weren't handsome. I mean, it's not even that anymore, is it? You know, it's just...
It's like it's come true from that sketch in Sidney Newman's office on Doctor Who night.
Yes.
After the fourth Doctor, any old twat with an equity card.
Yeah.
That's what we've got. We've just got any old Gatwa with an equity card. Yeah.
They could rewrite that to say after Capaldi, couldn't they? Really?
Yeah, they could.
Be honest, and that's what I'm saying here, Who viewers as well. I reckon this is the second miscast of this character in a row. And I said this for Whittaker. Tom Baker used to have a saying, you can't mess this part up. I'm paraphrasing, but it's actor proof. No, it's not. And I think that's now proven. You have to be able to act to take this role on, and not just turn up and say, oh, look at me and look at the frame I'm in. Hello to Tony, who's joining us. Hi, all, everyone. Is playing the attention-seeking victim card now. He is. He absolutely is. And so let's move on to this bit. Now, you'll know that the Entertainment Weekly was one, but there was this one as well. This is Attitude. Now, I've mentioned Attitude reluctantly on this show before, because as you can see, or you might be able to say at the top there, it says the best-selling gay magazine, and it's been going now for 30 years. So there's Ncuti on the cover of this thing. Best-selling gay magazine is what it used to be, you bloody hypocrites, because they're now all part of the LGBTQ plus cult. And of course, that has redefined what it means to be same-sex attracted. I know all about this because I've been the victim of a lot of homophobia, an increase in homophobia from those people themselves who call them LGBTQ plus whatever, AA, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, whatever letter comes under the sun now. They keep adding to it every other day. It's nonsense. But there he is there in that cover again, doing what he does, flaunting his muscles and wearing designer clothes by some pretentious designer. This is all he does. This is how he makes his money, you know. This is just ridiculous. But the thing is as well, he's now in this talking about Doctor Who. Ncuti Gatwa on intersectionality. Somebody in the chat, please tell me what the hell that means. I was born in the 20th century. I am really not up on all this BS that's around now, but let's look at this. I'm aware my experience is not the typical black Q-word experience. There are many people that are in my intersections. That don't get a chance to just exist, says the star. Ncuti Gatwa has reflected on his intersectional identities in a new interview with Attitude.
What does intersectional mean? Can someone explain that to me? Because I have no idea.
What does any of that mean? This is what these people do as part of this cult. They just churn out words that I'm sure they're making up. Intersectional identity. What the hell is an intersectional identity? This is what's happened in the UK now. We've been infected by all this nonsense from the TQI nonsense in America. It's all sailed over here, and it's divided my community completely, because we've got the LGBTQI cult and we've got LGB without the TQ, you know, which is growing stronger and stronger every week. Thank God, as many same-sex people suddenly wake up and suddenly realize that these TQI people are actually pushing and presenting homophobia. It's just nonsense. Let's carry on with what he's saying, and let's see what you think about this in the chat and what you two think about this, of course. In a wide-ranging interview, the 31-year-old touches on Barbie, the Oscars, and, as asked by Attitude editor Cliff, I can't say that. Do you think that's Joannu? Apologies if it's not. Between being a Scottish, British black person, an immigrant, and a and I hate this word, but I'm going to say it, queer person, do you ever find your intersexual identities in conflict with one another? I'm already bored. Ncuti replied, it's funny. When I'm chatting with other queer black men about what it's like going into the barbershop, you still lower your voice and put a spring in your step. At times in the past, I felt that, although not so much anymore. Heaven's sake. I feel like I've kind of reached a place in my personal journey where I just am who I am. And that doesn't have to change wherever I go. I just have to exist. And it's a privilege to do so in my position, because there's many people that are in my intersections, get a dictionary, one of you two, will you, that don't get a chance to just exist. I think that's the reason why I say that I struggle with hope sometimes, because there's a lot of things protecting me from the experiences that I could be having, should be having, and have had. And I'm aware of that. I'm aware that my experience is not the typical black queer experience. So I'm like, shit is hard. Just because I've now been cast as Doctor Who, all problems of inequality are now fixed. Things don't work like that. But yeah, now personally, I don't feel like they're in conflict with each other, but they can do for people and have done for me in the past. But I'm now just learning not to care what other people think. What? I mean, talk about blah, 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 shallow, empty words. This guy is typical of these TQI nonsense. They created all the problems we have in society today when it comes to all these issues. They did that. We had the Stonewall charity, the mermaids alleged thing. Both of whom, Stonewall definitely needs investigated. Mermaids already is being investigated by the Charities Commission. We need more of that, because they were the ones that said, no debate over everything. You can't talk about this. You will just do what you are told. And people like this lot now running our beautiful show have swallowed that pill and are preaching it back to us all. And now this is where we're at. I mean, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? What the hell is an intersectional identity? These people are their own.
Even if I've got a dictionary, it won't be in it.
No.
I think Digby put something in the chat about
it.
Let
me get to that then.
A hierarchy of suffering. So it's basically just more woe is me, look at me, 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 me. And we've already said he's a narcissist, which he clearly is. And he's just doubling down on it. I hadn't got a clue. So thank you for Digby on that one.
I have no problem with him being himself. Be yourself, fine, that's fine, no problem. Go on with it. You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think he is being himself yet. Now, in case you're new to the channel, hello and welcome, and thank you for putting up with us. If you like what we're saying, brilliant. If you don't like what you're saying, brilliant. It's absolutely fine. As a homosexual man, I don't like the word queer, and I reject the word queer. And I'll explain why. It has not been reclaimed, as these people say it has. It reminds me of a time when our heads were kicked in over this, and it also reminds me of friends lost, and that was probably one of the last words they ever heard. And now these people are coming along, and from what I can tell, it's used by narcissistic heterosexuals. And to Ncuti, I would also send him a personal message as well. How dare you? How dare you use that term? What's wrong with the word homosexual? What's wrong with that word? People like me fought for your bloody rights to make this world a better place for you. And you and your cult have just gone and ruined all that and crapped on all the work that we went through, all the hassle we went through, all the heartache we went through, and all the kickings we went through. Because you believe in this, it's been reclaimed, when you know full well that the community is not together, and it hasn't. Wearing nail polish on your fingers, kids, does not make you queer. It doesn't make you special. They've been doing it for decades. Get a grip.
I think, you know, and I will stand corrected, JT, because you know way more about this than I do, obviously, from experience, lived experience. But I think you, your friends, and people like you did that over a period of decades.
Yeah.
To get to where it was. And they're destroying all that in moments, really. And it's, you know, I'm completely straight, and it still offends me that that's what they're doing. And it's just, it's hateful.
I mean, you know, I came along in the late 80s and into the 90s, and we were still going for same-sex rights then, which is actually, from a lot of these people in this cult, is denied. And yet some of those that were there at the time should know better and should be saying to it, it's not actually there, but they're so desperate to climb on the bandwagons and stay relevant in my eyes That's all that is. Oh, I must stay at the top of my game. Or I must stay employed. Or I must do this and I must do that. And yet they're crapping on our legacy, because I came along in the late 80s with my generation, and all of us doing it. And we just built on what was going along from the 40s onwards, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. I mean, I remember the gentlemen, and they were all men ahead of me in the pubs and the clubs. And they had to go to pubs and clubs with no windows in, or underground, or all this sort of stuff. This new generation don't know how bloody lucky and privileged they actually are, because we fought for their right to use the Q word. How disrespectful of them, though. I can't be done with them at all, because it hasn't been reclaimed. I don't believe all that. Certainly not in the UK. And hashtag LGB without the TQ is a thing, whether you like it or not. It's there and it's growing, and you're going to have to deal with the fact that we will not be dictated to anymore. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's now in Doctor Who, the show that actually welcomed same-sex attracted boys and girls for decades, you know, and now it's turning us all away. It's shocking, isn't it?
And as you say, it kind of starts at the top. I mean, Russell and Phil, for instance, you know, they should know better, but, you know.
They should know better. They should
They
know
should.
better. Should have
and actually
and experience the same things at the same time. But to push what they're pushing is, it's beyond words, really. It's beyond it.
Well, it's not just them as well, because did you see this week as well? If you are not blocked on X from Andy Pryor, the casting director, and by God, he's another one that has been blocking left, right, and centre over the last few years. I myself am blocked for him for daring to not bend the knee and question him on one of his little X statements when it was Twitter. So thank you very much to Jason, who sent me this week, because this is coming from Andy Pryor's X Twitter. Now, this was an article that was in The Guardian. I've read it. It was from a gentleman that was at the incredibly awful incident or attack on a pub in Soho in London on the Friday, the 30th of April, 1999, called the Admiral Duncan. This was actually quite big at the time. And this is about this gentleman's experience of actually being at the pub that Friday evening. Now, I'm going to state right now, I remember that Friday evening as well, Mr. Pryor. I was on the way to there, actually, by the way, and I had a friend at the time who was in there. We caught up with him later. Thank God he was okay, but others weren't. The statement was this on the back of this article from Pryor. I remember this evening vividly. I recall the warm, balmy temperature. This dreadful event, which could happen again given the current atmosphere, is one of the things that drives me to fight, especially right now, for our trans sisters and brothers.
Is it just me? They're the ones that are causing the problems. They're making it worse rather than better, aren't they? Surely.
Totally. But what he's done there, and to me, this is an indication, of course, of what he's done, is you can see them all right now seething in Cardiff in the Bad Wolf offices because of this lady. This, of course, is Dr. Hilary Cass, OBE, and the Cass report was published, and we covered it a couple of weeks ago on Headlines, which stated that the NHS in England and Wales, well, in a nutshell, and I'm paraphrasing here, had been too eager with all the other bothers to trans young people. As we saw here in England and Wales, and we have seen in Scotland as well, a huge increase over the last few years of young people being trans. We now know, thanks to the Cash report, that a lot of those transitions were wrong. They were wrong. And all these people, and I'm going to go back to Ncuti for a second as well, all these people will be livid about this, of course, or this cult will be livid about this, but don't forget that we've had RTD exactly on the show, the behind the scenes show, haven't we, Paul, saying it's vital we get to the kids to show these messages. And we've also had Ncuti Gatwa at the beginning of the year taking part in that awful Teen Vogue TikTok, where he actually said the hate ends here and we will reach those misguided.
Yeah, what does that reach those mean? What does that mean? That sounds very threatening. It's a bit like poor Hilary Cass had been threatened with violence because of her report, which is
by the
crazy.
TQI cult activists. Those activists are evil all around the world. They are absolutely bizarre. And this is the other reason I say, because of that, there needs to be an investigation into the BBC and the majority of its programming, including CBBC. I call for that. There has to be a serious investigation into that, but then there also needs to be a serious investigation into all of entertainment, politics, and private businesses as well, because thanks to Stonewall, they got this message into lots of areas of our social lives. It's absolutely shocking. Gosh, thanks for everybody for your chats. Keep them coming, keep them coming. We do have that. What do you think about that particular first thing that Ncuti was saying there? Let's have a look. Garbage is saying, I am sick of the words hi, honey, and give me the loving. Ncuti isn't the world's brightest, says Raymond. He lives in a lovely bubble of photo shoots and awards ceremony. We're seeing that coming through because every time we see him, you know, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's getting ridiculous. Cyber Matt, hello to you. I was going to try and give the new series a chance, but after the numerous comments by Ncuti, I'm done. I'm tired of everything being about race. And in their case, also gender and all these nonsense words he's coming up with. Richard is saying to us, Russell Tough Davis has projected so much into this talentless model. He has been miscast. Jodie, just as Jodie was miscast. The Doctor is still Peter Capaldi, plain and simple. Paul is making a nice point here. Adrian Lester would have been a stronger choice. Adrian Lester is an actor. That is why. And he's come across as very sensible over the years. And I'd be very, very surprised, to be quite honest, if he's on board with all this nonsense, you know, because he seems quite sane. And he's a cracking actor, isn't he?
He is fantastic. One of my favourite series is Hustle. Love Hustle. Great series.
Oh, yeah.
And he's superb, and he's a great Doctor. I think actually he's a fan as well, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but he'd be good at. But that's the whole point. I don't care whether the Doctor's black, Chinese, female, whatever. It has to be a good actor. That's the whole point. So that's the important thing. So cast someone who can play the part. That's the important thing.
Ncuti believes he is a legend in his own lunchtime, says Doug. I believe the opposite will happen. Doctor Who in 2 years will be Ncuti Who. I still get people saying to me now, Jodie Who? Because nobody was watching in the UK. I don't care what they said. The Sea Devil one, whatever that was called, got the lowest ratings in the show's history.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Legend of the Sea Devils, it was called.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see how this one goes, shall we? Mind you, we all know now, or we can assume that the figures are going to be fudged. So that's going to be fun when it comes to our review shows. Jack is saying to us, anyone else not sold on Gatwa from the very beginning? I never saw an ounce of the Doctor in him. I'm going to say for myself, I was prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt because I'd seen him in Sex Education and I thought he played Eric in that quite well. But unfortunately, now from what I'm seeing, I'm actually seeing more Eric than I want. And I don't see the Doctor. But after what he's saying here as well, I'm not really taking to him, Jack. I don't think I like him.
When I've never watched Sex Education. Was he playing himself effectively in it? Really, was that what he was doing?
I'm beginning to think he was, although it was an older version because Eric was supposed to be quite young. I think Eric was supposed to start off around about 14, 15 years old or something. But he was a very camp, very out gay man. Yeah. And the first two series were actually quite funny. They really are quite funny. It then got woke, and they started to push the TQI agenda into it when a new producer came in. It was just ridiculous after that.
So he was playing a character in that was all camp.
Gay. Yeah.
And well, he's showing a fantastic range, isn't he? Then, really.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing yourself. Tom effectively did that, but he was perfect for the role. He was perfect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there was a difference there because he also had an ability. Raymond is also saying to us, RTD didn't cast Ncuti to play the Doctor. He cast Ncuti to play Ncuti. In that, at least, I'm sure he will pull this off. Lisa Mazimbo described his Doctor as bringing a youthful sexiness to the role. And that's the majority of us out, isn't it? Because the Doctor isn't supposed to be sexy. He can be young, because we've had two already, but it can't be... I don't know, what do you think in the chat? I personally think the Doctor should be as far away from being sexual or sexiness as possible.
Yeah.
Digby seems to be a big group of that.
Sorry, JT. I know people, you know, you're going back through the history of the show. You'd have Fraser Hines in his prime when he was doing Jamie, and you know, he was getting a lot of attention from the ladies, wasn't he? And Wendy Padbury and Debbie Watling and all the others, and the ones before and the ones since, Katie Manning and all those, they would all get the attention as well, you know, Louise Jameson and all that. And that's always been a part of Doctor Who. You know, there's been an element of both male and female eye candy there, although they've obviously been capable as well. But the Doctor has never been that.
Yeah.
Ever. And to aim for that and to talk about that shows a complete ignorance about what it's all about, what the character's all about. It's not there for that at all.
They have to go back to you're a beautiful woman, probably. Again,
Yeah.
that's supposed to be, yeah.
Well, they need to, but they're not going to
Yeah.
because they don't
No.
believe in that, do they? And this
Yeah.
has crept in over this reboot version. I'm talking from 2005 onwards. This has been there. I've been quite uncomfortable even watching them live on from 2005 onwards at certain stands, but I think that's not the Doctor. You're putting that in just to be modern and soap opera-y. It's not the Doctor. And they've lost the Doctor now.
Yeah.
It's going to
The
take
Doctor
more
dances.
talent than they've got there now to bring the Doctor back, Paul.
Yeah.
You know, because the Doctor's not there. You've got the only thing I recognise in the show now is the bloody police box, because even the music has been bastardised several times over.
Yeah.
So I recognise the police box frame. That's it, because I can't see the Doctor at the moment. I certainly didn't see him in those 4 abominations that we were presented with last year, because the Doctor wouldn't have stood there and been spoken to by an Earth female and an Earth trans character in that way. The Doctor would have just said, "Who do you think you're talking to? You playthings of Sutek. You know, you are very, very small in my lifespan. You will die in 20 minutes. I carry on." I just thought that was absolutely ridiculous. Garbage is saying to us, I've seen Ncuti acting in 3 roles now, and he seems to play the same character everywhere. And Neville is saying to us that he fears for Gatwa's mental state. I actually fear for the mental state of all these people in this cult, because they've been brainwashed somewhere along the lines. And we've got an entire generation, which is Ncutis and the one below him, really, just completely off their head. Have you seen them on X? Have you seen them with all the multicolored hair and dangly earrings and pronoun use? Goodness me, that's what happens when you close the mental institutions. Magic Stew. Hi guys, I'm new here and I'm so glad I found like-minded folks who are fed up with this new Doctor Who. I have an idea, a simple idea, how to correct all this madness. Pop it in the chat, I'll see if I can find it. But welcome, Magic Stew. If you haven't already subscribed, it's free. It's free to subscribe. So please subscribe and come and support us and ring that bell, because if I'm getting worked up on this after what's been said this week, can you imagine what happens from the 12th of May when we start doing our reviews of this series? Yes, because that's all coming up, and I'm really, really so excited. Somebody get me the Valium. I need Valium to get through this. It's all coming this way. But yeah, pop it in Magic Stew and see if we can find it. Jack is saying, is Ncuti gay? No, he's queer. Apparently there's a massive difference, and that's why I'm saying, how dare he? How dare these people use that? Because from my point of view, after all the bloody work we did and everything we went to, I
think Jack there is being ironic.
Oh, of course he is. Absolutely. Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. Ncuti Gatwa, says Matt, and Richard is saying Ncuti is so boring. Well, he's not doing anything proper. You know, he's not representing himself properly with all these blurb. Hello, Just Jordan. It's the study of overlapping or intersecting social identities and related systems of oppression, domination, or discrimination.
That's intersectionality.
That's intersection. It's the study of This is why I'm saying, get rid of all the universities and colleges. Who cares how? I mean, they are putting all this nonsense in their head, aren't they? And they come out with a bloody degree, and then they can't get a job. They end up in a bakery or something fabulous like that. It's the study of overlapping or intersecting social identities and related symptoms of oppression, domination, or discrimination. Has that come from America? I bet you it's bloody well come from America, hasn't it? And it's infiltrated over here. And here's Digby saying, intersectionality equals a hierarchy of suffering. It's the new way of ranking forms of oppression. Oh, God, I bet they've got a flag.
You need a Google Translate for that, don't you, to be honest?
I saw something on X today where there was a whole sheet of different flags that referred to individual bits. So, you know, because the flag now, if it gets any more colors, it's going to be just a swatch, isn't it? And they've got all these different flags. There was about 20 or 30 of them.
It's a joke, isn't it?
They probably do have a flag for that, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, because then they can go along to what used to be LGB Pride, which they have actually taken over and kicked us out of with their own ideas of what they need to do, and wave it. Richard is saying, good for the LGB folks. They reached out to the T and were kind. Their compassion is being abused. To be quite honest, we didn't even do that, mate, because the T and the Q and everything else has been enforced on us. We didn't want it. We didn't ask for it. In fact, T people tend to be heterosexual, because when you think about it, they may try and alter their gender, but their sexuality stays the same in 99% of the cases. So if you're a heterosexual man who then decides to say, I am now a trans woman, you tend to still be attracted to women. That's heterosexuality. It's nothing to do with being same-sex attractive because you weren't that sex at all. This is where it gets very, you know, you've got to be careful with this, but no, that's the fact. That's the fact. So sexuality is totally different to gender, isn't it, Richard? So we didn't really, we tolerated it. In my day, there wasn't a T, but we did have transvestites in our pubs because it was the only place they could come to where they could actually hang out and be themselves on a Sunday night or whatever, you know, or show that they wanted to. I mean, most of them were married to women. And they just wanted to wear women's clothes, so they came out and met up, and we tolerated them. We tolerated them in our bars because we sympathised with them. That's the British style. I don't know what it was like around the rest of the world, but in Britain, that's what happened. And then we got invaded by all this nonsense that came over from somebody like GLAAD, those bunch of wet wipes over in America. Horrible people and homophobic, just like Stonewall. Digby is saying to us here, the joke about intersectionality is that it creates incentives and rewards to play on perceived disadvantages. Oh, you're all so intelligent. Limekins, nice to see you. Welcome to the channel. Intersectionality just means a level of pretentiousness, and if you don't have it, you're a bigot.
That is perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'd agree with that. Thank you for that, Limekins. Yeah, and you're right, though, aren't you? Any sort of otist or phobe that they care to throw. But when they throw these things at you, it actually means nothing anymore. Because they've empowered all these words, like the word hate. They've empowered it all. It means nothing. I'll tell you something. If they were around in the 40s, they'd understand what hate meant. If they go over to certain countries right now, they would understand what hate meant with their cues for this and cues for that. They wouldn't stand a chance, would they? Wouldn't? No. They'd be marched up to a building and shoved off it. I can tell you. Oh, goodness me, I'm getting all stressed. Paul is saying to us, why do all these morons insist on using these ludicrous words like pronouns? They're bloody victims all. Is it to detract from the fact they are full of dishwater? Grow up and be a role model, not a sheep. They can't be, Mike. They can't be. They really, really can't be. And Magic Stew was replying to us here, I have an idea for a story which I'm trying to write, how to correct all this and how to bring Doctor Who back to its roots. Well, that's good. And you can send it when you're ready to us here at Who's Views, whosviews1@gmail.com. Kirsty will pop in the email down there for you as well. But yeah, back to the role model thing. These people aren't role models, and this is what gets me. They think they are. This is what the cult does. As Paul has always said on the show, Russell T Davis on that behind the scenes thing said we had to get these messages to the children. That's pretty dangerous in my eyes when you're pushing these agendas. And we now know, thanks to the Cash report, that was wrong. You know, absolutely wrong. Gemma, hello, Gemma. If he doesn't care what other people think, why is he going on so much? Well,
exactly. Yeah,
that's a good point to carry on because he's also said this. Here's more from our new leading man. Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa slams government attacks on trans people. It's divide and conquer. Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa has accused the UK government for using trans people as a scapegoat for its own ineptitude. Now, this was the pink news from the Attitude. So this has all come from this Attitude or the Entertainment Weekly dialogue, the interviews. But this one's from the Attitude one. Now, pink news, for those of you outside the UK, or those in the UK that don't know, used to be, again, like Attitude, a fairly reliable source of news for LGBT people. It's now, of course, become part of the TQI cult, and it's full of lies, in my opinion. It's full of nonsense. And I'll leave you with that one as we go through this because it's just shocking. I wouldn't wipe my bum with it these days, to be quite honest. But here we go. Speaking to Attitude magazine ahead of the new season of this beloved sci-fi show landing next month, Gatwa shared his distress at watching politicians incite hatred against trans people and other minority groups. Everything trickles down from the top. And when you see politicians openly attacking marginalized communities, when you see our politicians openly attacking trans people, it makes it okay for everyone else, he explained. It is scary to see that we've got to a point where it is fine to attack vulnerable people because that's essentially what's happening. Gatwa continued to vent his fury at the sick politicians who use trans people and other minorities as a means of hiding away from their ineptitude. Big words, mate. People who are the most vulnerable, the most disenfranchised, most disconnected from everyone else are being told that they are the threats, he declared. You're going to put the blame on immigrants, black and brown people, trans people, queer people, to hide the fact that you are not doing anything for people. It's easier to just create discord amongst people. It's divide and conquer, isn't it? Politicians across the political divide in the UK have continued to use trans people as a punch bag as the general election nears, with Labour frontbencher Wes Streeting recently explaining that he no longer stands by his statement that trans women are women. And that's because they're not. The Shadow Health Secretary has also expressed his desire for trans hospital patients to be treated in separate hospital wards in order to maintain the integrity of single-sex spaces. I'm asking you in the chat, what the hell is wrong with that? This finishes as a party. Labour has also recently backed banning trans women from competing in women's sports. Thank God for that. Could it be that the Labour Party in the UK has finally woken up following the publication of the Cash report? Again, guys, this is down to the ideological belief and the insistence from these cultists that TWs are women and TMs are men. They are not. It's a biological fact. They are not. As a same-sex man, I can tell you that a trans man isn't. What do you make of what he's saying there?
Is he reading all that off a card? It's like when you get someone phoning you up a cold call and they give a big spiel and they read it really badly. It's like that. It's weird.
Yeah, the script.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think with references to the Labour Party, I think they're just trying to make sure come an election they're on the right side of history. So
Exactly.
they're just doing what their leader does, which is flip-flopping all the time. I mean, I've got no time for him and I've got no time for the others either. But they're just dipping their toe in the water, seeing what the temperature is and adjusting their position accordingly. But yeah, I think it sounds like he's reading from a script, because I don't honestly think he's that bright to put that many words together at once.
Thank you for that, by the way, Matt. I do appreciate that, and thank you for listening to my going off on one this evening. Thank you all for listening to me going off on this. But I'm passionate about this because he's just making a huge tit of himself, as far as I'm concerned. Pardon my language. But the other thing about this is they are reading a script. This is what they do. This is what they have been told. This is what they've been given by Stonewall. This is what they've been given by Mermaids. This is what they have bought into. And even though the Cash report has been published now saying you're all wrong, and actually we need to look at what's happening with children from the age of 4 upwards, by the way, this is where they're getting into with these alleged LGBTQI plus groups. That's an insult, by the way. They should just be TQI cult groups in my eyes. They're going into children of 4 years old and saying there's more than 2 genders. And, oh, all right, little Tommy, you might not be little Tommy now. You might be little Tanya or something like that, and vice versa. And a lot of parents don't know either. They don't know until they go and find out through the school at a play or something ridiculous. That's what we're talking about here. This is what they're told, isn't it, Ian? This is their dictates. So they are actually, in fact, guys, they are reading from a script, because they say the same things all the time. And that in the pink paper, of course, because they're also part of that cult, they will issue it off like this between them and this Attitude magazine. 30 years of Attitude magazine. And they have the goal to still call themselves the gay magazine. I don't know one gay guy that reads that thing anymore, because we all went, blah. It's ridiculous. Tony, thank you for your Paul, come to you in a sec. I love this channel. It has a calming effect on me watching other people rant, and it gives me time off. Well, thanks for that, Tony. I appreciate that. Paul, what are you going to say?
No, I just find the whole thing frustrating, really. I think children should be allowed to be children, and that's it. People develop over the years. They can't decide who they want to be at 4. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but
I think what they're trying to do with getting to the children is basically get to the children and groom them. That's what they mean. They're advocating grooming. It's as simple as that. And there's that thing that Bill Maher in America did on his show.
Oh yes, tell us about that, Paul, because you sent that to me, and I just thought, has this guy finally woken up?
Yeah, I would encourage everybody. Bill Maher, Maher. Look at him. It's about a day ago. It's an 8-minute monologue at the start of his. I assume it was the start of his show. I never watch his show, so I don't know where his monologue fits in. It was a share from Elon Musk's account, but I looked at the original account, and it's legit and it's there. And it's aimed at Nickelodeon. It's aimed at Disney. And it makes it's laser sharp. It really is. It gets right to it, but it's relevant here, and it's about getting to the children. And he comes from the position of, I don't have children, I don't like children, I think they're morons, and he explains how malleable children are, and they will believe anything you tell them, and they effectively try to please adults. And that mentality of children is being taken and manipulated by these evil bastards, because that's what they are. And it's fantastic. It's really, really good. I would strongly recommend you just watch that and just absorb it, and then share it, because it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Rant over for now.
No, it's fine. Keep going, keep going, keep going. This is important stuff. And as I've said before, we don't actually want to talk about this stuff, but it's now in Doctor Who. They've brought it into Doctor Who. We would all rather, as you would be, Who viewers, we'd all rather be talking about the latest rubber monster, wouldn't we? Let's face it. But no, they've insisted on bringing all this nonsense into the show. They've alienated millions of fans across the world. And it's now a time where we should say, sod you. We have absolutely no sympathy with you, because they've created these molehills around the world, these problems around the world. These people are delusional, and they're going to carry on with this for at least 2 years. We know there's a drag queen, and we've talked about the drag queen involved in this show before, obviously being pandered to, and in my opinion, very concerned about him, because he needs counseling. He needs a psychological help. He really, really does. It seems that everybody else as part of this cult may do as well. Dalek, I love you, saying to you, I'm totally with you all the way, JT. Well said. I have similar arguments with younger gay people, and then told I have self-hate issues. Yes, I know exactly what you mean there, Dalek. I love you. I get that as well, that I'm the hateful one, and I can't, I hate myself, so therefore I can't look at everyone else, and sad and lonely and all that nonsense. And the problem is they throw all these things, not realizing what we went through in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, how we went on all the marches, how some of us were on the front lines, how some of us got told you're going to get arrested if you don't move on by a very bigoted and homophobic police force. You know, all the problems we did, they don't realize that we could have got fired from our job at any time in the 90s. And yet the fact that we all came out, they couldn't do anything. That's what changed things in the United Kingdom. I can't speak for America because I don't know anything about America. I can't speak from Australia because I don't know about Australia. I know about Britain because I was there. I was there.
But you go back into the 1940s and 1950s and you look at people like Alan Turing, and you could have been forcibly medicated, chemically castrated.
Yeah.
And now it goes full circle, and they're trying to do forcible chemical things to children. It's obscene. It was obscene then. It's obscene now.
It's an excellent point that you make. That I often think about that, especially when you watch that wonderful film. Was it The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch playing Alan Shearer? You know, Alan Shearer. I'm thinking that, you know, when he's playing that, and you look at that, and that heartbreaking towards the end where they put him through that, and that actually really happened. And then the parallels to what's happening now. There is a hashtag out there, if you don't know it, called Transing the Gay Away. It's just been proven by the Cash report that a lot of this was what was going on. And there are also things, if you look at the various social media platforms, of homophobic parents, especially in America, I hate to say, where instead of allowing their kid to become same-sex attracted, they trans them. It's absolutely shocking. Mark is saying to us here, JT is correct, 2000 was a better time. The downturn began with Occupy Wall Street, when everyone united against the 1%. The powers that be responded by using the media to create conflict among everyone. And Magic Stew is saying to us here, there is nothing wrong with having diverse or gay whatever characters if they are written correctly and not forced down your throats. It shouldn't be what they're all about. It really shouldn't be what they're all about. So you shouldn't. I mean, this is where the soaps originally got it right back in the day when they started introducing the homosexual characters, because they were relatable still. It just happened to be that they slept with somebody of their own sex. And that was very much third. It wasn't even secondary. It was down the line when they brought another character in to show the reality of them, to show that they were capable of emotive response. But now it's number one. I've got to fly the flag. I've got to identify myself as this. I've got to be in that group. And here's my pronouns. As we saw in the Star Beast, that awful bastardization of a comic strip giant classic. Blue Worm is saying to us, it's the heterosexual majority who has made life easy for people like Ncuti. Divining Dragon saying RTD Gatwa and their ilk do not respect anyone other than themselves, and that's what makes them very worrying in my eyes, I have to say to you. Yes, it was JWC, it really was. The whole thing about that, it was the summer of the spring, I suppose, of 1999. There were three of those attacks, and the Admiral Duncan incident was on Friday the 30th of April. I remember it very, very well. And if Darren is watching this at any point, I hope you're well. Hope you're well, mate. So we've got all that. We've got Paul. Fight for our trans sisters and brothers. Yeah, fighting to undo the mutilations to the thousands of confused kids down the line. Wow. Keep it all coming, everyone. Now this is concerning. How long before we get a furry doctor, Ian?
Jesus Christ. I do remember a furry character in Doctor Who once. If you remember one of those missing adventures, there was one of the companions called, there was two, Ros Forrester and Chris Quedge, when they first came along.
Oh, yes.
Ros Forrester ended up, spoilers, dying and triggering a heart attack in the Doctor, the Seventh Doctor. But Chris Quedge, in his first story, he'd gone through what was called a body beppel. And he was actually looking at that point like a teddy bear. It was quite futuristic. You know, people wanted to be a furry and they were genetically modified to be furry. He actually looked like a teddy bear, apparently. Sad that I know that off the top of my head. There's somebody mentioned earlier about
you're such a nerd,
turning people against each other, you know, turning straights against gays and things like that, blacks against whites. And there's quite a radical musician in America called Tom McDonald, and he has a track called Brainwashed. And it points a finger at all of that authoritarian manipulation. So you don't look, it turns groups against each other. I would encourage anybody, look that up. Tom McDonald, Brainwashed. It's just worth a listen. You might think I'm talking shit, but I think it
Yeah, I want to say hello to everybody that's watching us this evening. We've got great numbers watching us this evening. Nice to hear. Thank you for staying with us for Who's Views Headlines this evening. It's great to see you. Don't forget, this is just one show on our channel. We actually do love Doctor Who. Go and have a look at all our playlists. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. It helps the channel an awful lot, and it's free. You don't have to pay to subscribe here on the Tube of Who, so please do subscribe to us. That would be fantastic and really appreciated as well. Let's see what you're saying in the comments. Also, if you're not in the chat, come into the chat. A nice bunch of Who viewers in the chat, always very nice. So come and play, as I say. What we got here? We've got this one from this channel is under repair. The Doctor should be cool, but not bloody sexy. I'm not even sure if he should be cool, quite honest. JWC Reviews is saying Patterson Joseph would be a good Doctor for me. Yeah, he'd be another cracking one, actually, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He was rumoured at one point, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? He wanted it, I think, as well, didn't he? Didn't he go out and he had his picture taken with one of the Glasgow boxes, didn't he? As a sort of...
I think he was possibly going to be instead of Matt before Matt.
Around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It could have been that.
I think it'd have been really good, which underlines the point. You don't have a problem with a black Doctor. It's not a problem at all.
No, it's about the acting.
He's a bloody good actor. The end. You know?
Yeah. And Douglas is pointing out exactly that by saying we need actors again and not activists. The problem with that is, I'm afraid, Doug, point out an actor these days that isn't an activist in some way or shape or form, because a lot of the new ones that are coming through are brainwashed. It's all about it. Look at that lot in Hollywood, for crying out loud, with all the tokenism hypocrites that they all are. I mean, come on. But you know what I mean? It would be very difficult now, wouldn't it, to actually find somebody that isn't...
Well, I think actors have always been activists in some way. I was watching the Louise Jameson interview on the season 15 box set. She talks about working for various theatre companies in the 70s, and there's lots of, you know, like Vanessa Redgrave, people like that, who were big political activists, but they weren't the same as they are now, though, to be fair.
Yeah. Paul is saying to us here, keep the Doctor a strange alien character, an outsider. That is one of the essences of the Doctor that's now gone, because it's not there now. And we saw this in this blooming trailer for Disney Who coming up, isn't it? He just opens the door wide, give me the loving, and there he is. Yeah. Campus tits. The Doctor is not about sex, says Divining Dragon. Absolutely. Bring back, says Tony, the pertwee frock coat and frilly ruffle shirt.
Yeah.
Agree.
It's probably coming, isn't it?
I'd hate to think what they're going to do, to be honest. John is saying to us here, sex should not be a part of Doctor Who ever. And that's the British thing about it, isn't it, as well? Because JNT used to say all the time, there's never any hanky-panky in the TARDIS. No hanky-panky in the TARDIS. And that rule was thrown out as soon as RTD came and brought it in, wasn't it, really? It was always the hints and the suggestions that the Doctor might dance. The double entendre in that, which wasn't even funny. It was just concerning in my eyes to think, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
I mean,
what
I
else
don't mind if the companions like Rory and Amy, they were married, etc. That's fine, but keep the Doctor out of that, you know. But
yeah, the human characters are okay, and that's why
Yeah.
another reason in this day and age you could use the human companion so that
Yeah.
they do have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and they do have that life. They messed it up with Clara.
Yeah.
Because personally, I don't know what you guys thinking here, but personally, I don't like a companion that since they're going home, back to the job after after an adventure. It's a time machine. Stay with him for as long as you want to, then get him to drop you back off. You know, but all this darting about and going back to see your mother and your boyfriend and all this gets on my nerves after a little while. Really does. Can't be done with it. Just get on with the adventures, especially when you're in a time machine, you know. Yeah. Dalek Decimus is saying to us the original series generally kept their personal and business relationships mutually exclusive. I don't care who my co-worker loves, only that they do the job. Even more so, if it was a world ending. Well, that was the whole thing, and that went up to really around about Capaldi, didn't it? Where you didn't know, you could guess their opinions on politics, but you didn't know. You could guess their opinion on most things, but you didn't know. You didn't know about their personal lives because they kept it private. That's what show business now doesn't do, because they think it gets bums on seats. All it does is gets people like us talking about these things and criticizing them for saying, can't you just keep it behind locked doors? We don't care. We don't want to know. And we certainly don't want to see it in every single bloody TV show, especially that the BBC are pushing out.
Absolutely.
Dalek, I Love You is also saying to us here, Paul, I did not watch the Davidson era because I thought he was too young and good looking to be the Doctor, but he has won me over of late. Good. I'm pleased about that.
I remember reading Malcolm Hook, Doctor Who, The Space War, when it first came out, based on Frontier in Space. And there's a line in that, again, displaying my utter geeky sadness here. There's a line in that.
Good for you. Good for you.
Is in the lunar penal colony and he's getting changed. And somebody had made a comment about the Doctor's mugshot and everything else, or something like that. And the line just says something like, the Doctor reacted, aware that he was quite good looking. And I remember that at the time thinking, the Doctor doesn't think that. I mean,
well, you're obviously misremembering Spear from Space when he's not sure about himself, and he quite likes himself after a while, doesn't he?
Yeah. But it's all about the ears or the chin or whatever.
The nose,
nose, you know. I mean, he would not, I agree with you. I don't think the Doctor was looking aware that he was quite good looking. The whole point about the Doctor is he's an alien. He's a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey, far from the future in our time, who thinks he's getting it right on Earth, but doesn't. This one, the Gatwa one, looks like he is getting it right, because, you know, the whole thing about the Doctor when he came to Earth is he put on what humans thought was a human costume, a human outfit. He thought he was blending in, a bit like his TARDIS. And the brilliant thing is, he got it wrong all the time because he was slightly out of step. He was slightly out of kilt. So even Hartnell was a couple of decades after where he should be, you know. McCoy, nearly. Yeah. But no, not quite right. No, not quite right. Yes, Tony, it's right. Poor JT will be in rehab by the end of the series. Totally. And Digby is saying to us, intersectionality came from law in the US. Thank you very much for that. It has no place in Britain then, because our law, as some of these kids don't understand, is different. And actually, the brilliant thing about the United Kingdom, there are so many brilliant things about Great Britain. We've got it so easy here in a lot of cases, and these idiots don't understand that. I'll tell you what, move abroad. Actually, go to America if you love it that much and go and stay there for 5 or 10 years and see how it's different there, and see that you don't get your bank holidays, see that you don't get your equal pay, see that you don't get this. See, you have to work 7 days a week. You know, you don't get your holiday entitlement. You don't get as much of it. All of this, your national insurance rate, your pensions, go and have a look at it. Go and move over there. And then come back and tell me that it's the best thing. Go and have a look at the laws, because it depends again on what state you're actually in. You know, all this. There's so much about the United Kingdom that is brilliant, but we have the same rights. So they're going on about these rights and these rights and these rights, and actually, we all have the equality in those rights now, because same-sex marriage was the last one, I think, for gays and lesbians. Tell me if I'm wrong, but from my point of view, we are all equal because everybody has the same rights in the UK.
Which heterosexual people in relationships but not actually married didn't get until a few years later.
That's right. Yeah, and that was because of equality. So they brought in this thing, didn't they, saying, right, you know, LGBT people could have
what was it called, civil right partnerships, and that would be recognized by law, which was a step towards the marriage thing. Although why anybody who's same-sex attracted wanted the marriage thing, I've no idea. It's just bureaucracy. Anyway, comment. But so that. But then they said, oh, actually, that's not fair on the heterosexuals. So they got the civil right things. That's the point. We all have the same rights, and certainly people who are petitioning over so many rights. You know what I'm all talking about because it's boring, and we see it every day. Well, in the United Kingdom, they already do. So point out what rights they don't have. And actually,
you see that when people ask them, though, don't they? They say, "Can you tell me what rights I have that you don't have?" They just shut you down. They don't engage, because they would then have to think. They would have to give a coherent answer that was on the topic that they were talking about, and they can't do it. Added to which, there aren't any rights that they don't have, but they need to campaign, because otherwise, what's the point of them existing?
Yeah.
Really.
Simon L is telling us here, speaking of the TARDIS, I heard they're going to repair the chameleon circuit, to which Decadent Dave came back and said, oh, good, Ncuti will materialize the TARDIS into a giant. And if you're listening, you're going to have to watch.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the fixing of the chameleon circuit, that wouldn't surprise me at all, because the TARDIS, the police is problematic, isn't it? That's it. So, yeah.
We've talked about that, haven't we? But do you know what? We're not finished with Ncuti Gatwa yet, because yes, his mouth was well and truly open this week, and we've got more. Check this one out. Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa complains that white mediocrity is celebrated while black people struggle to get half that. This was reported by Deadline, but again, it's from the Entertainment Weekly and Attitude interviews that were published this week. What a bad week it has been for Ncuti Gatwa in Doctor Who fandom. Will he recover from this? I don't think so. Let's continue. Ncuti Gatwa, the first black Doctor Who. It's that thing again, isn't it, Jodie Whittaker, the first female Doctor Who? We've now got Ncuti Gatwa, the first black Doctor Who, was extremely outspoken in a new interview. Gatwa is an LGBTQ Rwandan immigrant to the UK and made his comments to the magazine Attitude for its May and June issue. Asked about backlash on assuming the role of Doctor Who, he said it's all part of a shift. We do see a shift happening in casting, its positions of power, and in the status quo. I mean, not a fast shift. Things could go tip over the other way a little bit quicker, but you see people kind of malfunctioning because things are changing. It continues, because that's what we talked about before. Ncuti talked of his battle for acceptance. There's so much white mediocrity that gets celebrated, and black people, we have to be absolutely flawless to get half of that anyway. So I'm slowly training myself out of that and being like, no, you deserve love for just existing. Gatwa said we've got to keep pushing for more, lots and lots and lots and lots more diversity, lots more inclusion on our screen, lots and lots and lots of it for all you male gammons, spelled incorrectly, out there. In the UK slang, the term gammon refers to the colour of a person's flushed face when expressing their strong opinions as compared to the type of pork of the same name. So let's go through that again. Gatwa said, we've got to keep pushing for more. Lots and lots and lots and lots more diversity. Lots more inclusion on our screen. Lots and lots and lots of it for all you male gammons out there. What a way to alienate your audience, fella.
Is gammons not a bit racist, isn't it?
I'm thinking that is, I mean, it's a reference to skin colour. So that is a definite racial comment. And I'm pretty certain in Scotland that would be a hate crime.
Very probably would be now, because the hate crime has hit in Scotland as well, and what a load of old nonsense that is.
I think it's on very shaky ground regarding mediocrity, don't you think?
I think he's just outed himself, though, as a racist, though, to be quite honest.
Yeah. This is his comment that's really grated on me the most, to be quite honest, because you don't, he talks about white mediocrity. If you said to him, okay, come on then, show me somebody that's mediocre, he won't, because he doesn't want to, and he'd have to think again. But you don't get white people in roles and being praised for being white. And black people seem to be, first off, praised because they're black. Your skin color doesn't determine how good an actor you are. But this is the first thing that they're praised for. They're praised for an accident of birth. They're praised, oh, you're a fantastic actor because you're black. Just in the same way Whittaker was so fantastic because she was a woman. It's absolute rubbish, complete rubbish.
Yeah, I think he's shown his true colours now, pardon the pun. Yeah. I really do. I think he's shown exactly what they're all like. These extreme left-wing ideologists creating the issues that society is now facing the world over. It's all about them. It's all about their agenda. It's all about their narcissism. And it's all about their labeling and trying to bracket people into these labelings so that they understand them without realizing, and I've said this before, segregation does not work. And history, you morons, prove that. But yes, you're busy rewriting all the history, aren't you? So it suits your agenda, your ways of looking at something. When it comes to Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa has just made a complete fool of himself and yet again pushed away an audience. As I said at the top of the show, all they had was one job: to bring everybody back and give us good, proper entertainment with a science fiction twist. But no. And guess what, everybody, is going to come up in these very painful, I'm predicting, 7 episodes that are coming up on Disney Channel and BBC One here in the UK over the next few weeks. I don't think anybody's going to watch this crap. I really don't.
There's an expression, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I do think using the word mediocrity, he's on 1 episode as the Doctor really effectively, and that's it. And time will tell how mediocre his performance is as the Doctor when he comes to do his next 7 or 8 episodes.
I think what we need to do when we start our new series of Who's Views Reviews, reviewing this insanity that's going to come through these next 8 episodes, is when we're doing the reviews from the 12th of May, we need to remember exactly what Ncuti and Russell T Davies has said here. And we also need to remember the cast report. And we need to look at this and bring this in, because can we see this coming out into the scripts? By God, we will see these things coming out into the scripts. By God, we will. Yes, Tony, you are correct, in my opinion. He's saying he really loves that victim card, doesn't he? They do, doesn't he? Because it's more attention. Attention to me. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. That's all they get for it. Just do the bloody job and keep that shut until you're in front of the camera. Digby is saying, yeah, the mediocre white guys who created the thing, that's paying his wages. They forget about that, don't they? Kirsty, you boys are my favourite mediocre white males. Thank you, Kirsty. Nice.
Checked in the post, Kirsty.
And Simon L is saying to us, Ncuti came here as an immigrant, which I have no problem with, but he's now throwing the help this country gave him back in this country's face by saying all this. And it's that bandwagon they're on, isn't it, Simon? Because do you know what? It's happening more and more. And it gets to a point, I've started to rebel against this because I'm quite rebellious in nature. You'll be surprised to learn.
Really?
And that's why
no.
Yeah,
this is why I've started to say it's okay to be British, because they make you think it's not. They make you think you're not worthy. If you fly the flag, you get called a racist, or you get called a national. What's wrong with being a national? What's wrong with being proud in your country and your history? No, Britain is great. Britain is fabulous. If you don't like it, bugger off. That's what I say. If you're born here and you don't like it, as I say, go and live in America and in parts of America and see how what the Americans have to put up with. Because all the Americans I know that come in over here never want to leave. They want to stay because it's so good here. And we have a wonderful NHS. Well, it would be if the bureaucrats didn't have hold of it. But, you know, it's all that sort of stuff, you know. So be proud to be British, everybody. And let's show them exactly that it's not about being far right, because everything's far right now. And you shouldn't be worried about saying you're British and being proud of our British history and our wonderful heritage and that fantastic history we've got, like the Tudors and all this. You know, why should we be ashamed? They make me feel ashamed. We do know that there is a show coming up as well by a politician about a politician by Russell T Davies, don't we, in this next series, played by Aneurin Bernard.
So, yeah,
the wonderful Aneurin Bernard, the Doctor we should have had in my eyes. And apparently, I don't know. I reckon that one's going to be all about how Brexit. Oh, how Britain is rubbish. And I
think all the the slugs in the trailer. I think that's what the politicians are.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be trying to rip off this Slovene idea.
Thing, yeah.
Well, we'll soon find out.
I think Gatwa is a heterophobic, far left racist. That's what it's coming across as. Heterophobic, far left and racist.
And certainly insulting homosexuals by calling it
homophobic in there as well. Heterophobic, homophobic, far left racist. Yeah.
And it's about time we turn that round. Instead of people like me just sitting here and thinking, are we wrong? No, we are right. It's them that have changed the rules, and we should fight things back. Things are malfunctioning, says Garbage. Viewing figures are going down. Franchises are being destroyed. It's going to continue. We see it. And
Well,
oh
the
dear,
figures aren't going down at all. They're up here.
and they will be again for this series, as we know. And if our friend, who will remain nameless, that usually comments on our channel there, from Liverpool, bless him. He won't have any of that. He'll be telling us they're all sky high. We know that. Oh dear, says Paul. The same old rhetoric, the same old complaints. White people are this and that. The same old childish insults. Grow up and get over it already. It's a shame that this has all come back, and the fact that they don't understand that it's all the other way now. You know, I find that absolutely ridiculous. You know, just ridiculous. We've got this. Oh, Limekins. I do like that, Limekins. I usually find that the people who complain about racism are usually the most racist themselves, and he is an example. I agree with that. It's the same with this TQI cult lot. They seem to be the most homophobic people I have met in years. They push this agenda, which is all about, you know, same-sex people should be now, same-sex attracted people should now also be allowing trans people into their dating pools. They're the opposite gender. You don't care what you call them. They're not. You know, absolute nonsense. Jack and David is saying Doctor Who. Doctor Who? What the hell is this show about anymore? I wish I knew. But that's why we try to balance things up on this channel day by reviewing proper Doctor Who.
By physical media.
Yes.
Buy the physical media of the classic series and watch that.
Yeah.
They can't change that.
Yeah,
there's an awful lot of you in the chat here as well, so thank you so much for taking part in the show. This is Ron. Hello to Ron. Not seen you here before. Please make sure you've subscribed to the channel. It's free to subscribe. Please do, and ring the bell so you get notifications of all our stuff coming up. We all just need to accept the Doctor Who we've been brought up on is gone for good. I absolutely agree with you. Totally agree. I don't think 21st century Doctor Who is a patch on the original massive 26 groundbreaking, historically important years for British television and the British culture. I think this stuff that we're about to get as well is going to be a complete insult, Ron. And I look forward, if you're watching it, for you to join us on our Who's Views Review show starting on Sunday, May the 12th, when we go through the pain. And hopefully you guys will all be here with us. Oh, God, it's going to be awful, isn't it? It really, really is.
We'll have some fun. We'll have some fun.
We are going to have some fun with
it. Is it 3 weeks tonight? Oh my God!
I know. Yeah. I'm with you on that one, Paul. Paul is saying to us, I can't believe we're still going round and round over what colour we are. And now they've added as well also the fact, you know, we don't know what we're arguing about colours again. We're sexuality again. And now even gender for some reason, because the university spent some like 15, 20 years pumping out idiots who were studying gender. No wonder we're confused. You know, oh, I'm studying gender studies at university. Why? There's 2. There you go. There's a degree. Neville, the mediocrity thing has absolutely killed it. Stone dead. I don't think it has snowball's chance in hell now. No, I don't think so either, Neville. I think it's dead in the water, and I'm happy to say it. Don't know about you two.
No, I think it's even before he said that it was dead. Sadly, but there you are. But
yeah,
I think watching them fail whilst thinking that they're right. You can just imagine they're like standing on the deck of a boat that's sinking, no hope of rescue, but there's a lifeboat there that they could just jump onto, and so I suppose that is a hope of rescue. And they're just going down with their noses in the air because they're arrogant enough to believe that they've still done everything right, even though it's sinking, and they just go below the waves, and that's the end of it. It's going to be quite fun watching that.
Let's see how it goes. Richard is with us. Best to keep your mouth shut and let everyone think you're stupid, Ncuti, than open it and prove that you are.
Very good.
It is very good, isn't it? Yeah. It is. Sorry, that's got me. The wokeometer, yes, Garbage. That will be back very soon for Who's Views Reviews as we bring the wokeometer into Who's Views Reviews as we look at all this nonsense going forward. Richard is also suggesting the crapometer. There's only so much we can cram into the show, but yeah, we could do that as well. Oh, you are funny. You are cheering me up this evening. Thank you very much, everybody. let's have a look. What else we got here? Dalek Decimus is saying to us, if you know anything about history, Britain was not perfect, but there were far worse empires out there, one of whom used to do blood games for fun. It's true. It's an absolute... I mean, I just don't understand why they're getting at all this, but, you know, we are where we are with all these idiots, and nothing's good. I think, no disrespect, as again, ever, but as a British person, I think the fact that the American stuff has infiltrated these kids far too much. I mean, you can go into schools in the UK and there's the BLM, the LGBTQI plus alleged progressive flag. It's not progressive. There's all this stuff, but there are hardly any, there are no Union Jacks. It's all the American stuff. And that shows where the teachers sit, I think, as well. It's about time that something like the Cash Report was run by them. Not that any of them would take any notice, because they, again, like with people in show business, are coming out saying we're not going to take any notice. You have to. Yeah. Something needs to be done now to protect these kids from all this, because they're all talking about child safeguarding and this sort of stuff. And you're the worst ones. You're pushing them into areas that they should not be needing to go. This is not the gay agenda all over again, people. This is something completely different. You might actually just be helping to trans the gay away here. I think we need to get a little bit serious here and stop bending the knee and stop being nice. And when it is when it is visually or biologically a he, I think we need to be calling them a he rather than playing the game of the pronoun usage. I think we've got to start being factual now and start holding them to account, as well as calling for all the investigations. You know, Richard is there again, saying to us, and this is the point, guys, I think RTT just like stirring up the fans like the master stirring up the black ants against the red ants. I think there's something in that, though, don't you?
I think there is, yeah.
That's a fair comment, definitely.
Yeah.
But RTD made such a big thing, didn't he? He made this huge thing about only gay people should play gay characters. Yeah. And yet he has a real struggle letting real women play women characters.
We're going to be coming back to that, aren't we? On episode 2. If that drag queen, if he is playing a female role, I will have something to say about that big time, Who viewers, and I will want your opinions, because I think that's wrong. And somebody was telling me just the other day on one of the emails, and I've forgotten who you were. Sorry, whoever it was emailing me saying, have you seen what's going on in Broadway? Not just Jinx Monsoon taking a role, a women's role, but a couple of the other drag queens are doing it as well. Are they insane? What's going on over there, you idiots? You've got plenty of actual women desperate for work and have to pay the rent and eat. Hire them. Bloody hell. It's just all nonsense, isn't it? Well, sorry about this, Who's viewers. Oh, heaven's sake. Sorry about this. Excuse me 1 second, everybody. Pardon me. Who's viewers hotline? Hello.
Sack Russell T Davis. Sack Jane Tranter. Sack Phil Collinson. Sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back.
Oh, okay. Well, don't call us. Oh, I'm sorry about that. How rude. I wish I knew who the hell that was that keeps phoning this show and doing that. It's unreal, isn't it? All the time. I just can't believe it. Oh, and you're not going to believe this as well, because yes, here's a blatant plug. The things I do for this channel. Honestly, I just can't believe what we're going to be doing. I spent all that time not watching one iota of the Chibnall era, everybody. I hope you're happy. Anyway, if you're just joining us here on Who's Views Headlines, where have you been? Because we're nearly finished. Absolutely. We've had great numbers watching us this evening. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us. And please do like the film, the video, whatever you want to call it, the show, because that also helps us. You know, we're not just always here talking about this, although we know that you like this particular show, but we've got other stuff coming on too. We've got Merchandise Paradise Live. We've got all the review shows that we do. We've got the Visitation Show, all of which are coming up for you very soon. We've got Chit Chat, where you can come onto the show. And yes, of course, we've also got our brand new quiz. Who's Master is here. The second episode of which dropped on Friday, starring Paul, who's in the chat, and Ian, Cody, W1. You can look at it now, but you could also be on it. You could be our Who's Views, Who's Master. To take part in our fabulous quiz that we've put together for you, please email us at whosviews1@gmail.com and come on and have fun with us. And yeah, let's see what your knowledge is like. Hey, that's what we'll do, eh, guys? Oh, goodness me. What a show. We're coming to the end now, but I wanted to round off Ian and Paul with something quite funny. And relating to the Chibnall era yet again. Some of you may have bought the recent character options Fugitive, Doctor and TARDIS set. Why? Anyway, some of you may have done that, Bedouia. Yes. And some of you may have bought that. Well, actually, some of you may have only bought it because you liked the police box. And although a lot of the Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker fans were having none of that and saying, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. It's the sales were because of this. We've had this through from social media to show it's not right. Just found this in a charity shop for £1. I'm absolutely stunned, said the Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker fan. And for those of you who are listening, it's the character options figure. What's that version called? Sorry, guys, what's it called?
The Fugitive Doctor. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. It's the Fugitive Doctor action figure from the TARDIS set in a plastic bag in a charity shop here in the brilliant and wonderful United Kingdom for £1. And this Chibnall and Whittaker fan was stunned. Absolutely bowled over. But it's obvious there, guys, isn't it, that the police box was kept and the model, the action figure, thrown out.
Still got the string on it, though, hasn't it? I think it depicts the scene that was cut from the episode where she was actually wrapped in plastic and dumped in a bin.
Yeah. I like the sense of humour of the charity shop charging £1 for her. That's really good. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And they, I love the fact they wouldn't even known it was Doctor Who, would they?
Yeah. No.
Because it's not the Doctor. You know, let's look at that again. I think he even has a gun for some bizarre reason. Why is Alan's version of the Doctor got a bloody big blaster like that? I don't know. Let's watch it. What?
Well, stunning and brave. Got a gun, you know. Mm.
What a load of old nonsense. Just like all of it now. Atom is saying, wow. Oh, really? Paul is saying the Fugitive Doctor is where it belongs. I won't buy that set on principle, says Richard. Yes, and I believe they've got some left still. It's fantastic, says Douglas. Absolutely. What else we got here? Magic Stew, laughing. Tony is laughing. Richard, laughing. I'm an intersection, JT, says Neville. You are?
That's like a road, isn't it? It's like a road.
What are you trying to say, Neville?
Like a cul-de-sac.
I subscribed, says this channel is under repair. Thank you. Everybody else, please do as well if you haven't already. Honestly, we really do. And yeah, please ring the bell because I really want as many of you as possible with us on this blooming new series of Who's Views Reviews with this whole new Gatwa crap. I can't even tell the difference.
Share the pain.
Exactly. But we are going to try and have a laugh with it, as you can see from that trailer we did there. Chibnall is the bad smell we can't get rid of, says Blue Worm. And now it's also more, isn't it? Because RTD's joining in with it. Wayne Cooper is saying to us, aha, I saw that post and thought exactly that. They just kept the TARDIS. They did. They obviously did, and threw the dolly out. Quite rightly too. Maybe the owner was racist and sexist.
Oh, no doubt. And white.
Far right. Far right.
Yeah. Ain't no way you can get Doctor Who action figures in real shops for £1. I have to find figures on eBay, says this channel is under repair. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. But I would try. Are you in the UK? This channel is under repair? Because I have actually seen them in charity shops now because a certain age group have grown up and they've got rid of them all. So I've seen lots of the David Tennant onwards merchandise. So I see lots of the books. I see annuals everywhere. And then I have seen over the last 3-4 years as well, the action figures started to come in through the Tennant and Matt Smith ones. So if you're in the UK, let us know. Try them in there. And also the comic Con things as well now. Have you noticed these comic cons that's springing up all over the country? Loads of them there. You can get all sorts. I saw a Cassandra model at one for £2 because they had loads of Doctor Who things, including some of the rare ones like the Cruttains. You know, if you remember them. Decadent Davis saying, "Wait, Ncuti was the fugitive Doctor before he bi-regenerated." I heard, said Garbage, the charity shop was giving people the character and money to take it. Tacky figure of a rubbish character, says Digby. And it was found next to the Mills and Boon books. There's a name, Mills and Boon. Happier days. Neville is saying, must admit I quite like the fugitive Doctor. Get out.
Neville Watkins, wash your mouth out.
She outshone Jodie. That's to be fair, but that wasn't difficult.
I wouldn't know, and I don't really care.
She did.
Magic Stew saying the pound wasn't wasted. You got a free plastic bag. Yeah. And X-Men 577, lovely to see you as well. The woke mind virus just won't go away. You're absolutely right, although it has to at some point. The bubble surely must stop at some point. I think from our point of view here in the UK, thanks to something like the Cash Report, which they're all denying, and which this week has been incredible to see them all. They're absolutely desperate this week, the TQI cult in Britain, scraping the bottom of the barrel, literally, with accusations, false narratives, lies, to try and say this was Dr. Hilary Cass, an absolute giant in her field. She took 4 years to write this thing, and they're all trying to disclaim it's wrong. Oh, give me a no. Dalek Decimus is saying yes, you get loads of figures at Comic Cons which are all used. It's because the kids have grown up and they don't care, and there's no new generation coming in. We'll be looking at that. Remind me, everybody, we are going to be looking through that. Is the next version of our beloved show going to attract the kids? I think it will only attract kids who are brainwashed of a certain age. I'm in Scotland, says this channel under repair. Oh, smashing. Ayrshire, to be specific. Oh, fab, you're up the road. I can't go to shops because my father no longer has a car. Oh, okay. Yeah. And well, like most of our shops as well, our town centres are decimated now, aren't they? Okay, this channel under repair. Keep in touch with us all. Java Bean is joining us, saying more than knowing because he's in Australia. What's happening in the world of Dickie Who? We will get off shortly.
That's problematic.
Yes, we will get off shortly, Java Bean. You can go back and watch it, and then you'll all know. But lovely, see. Good morning. You should see some of the pictures I get from him of where he has his morning cuppa. Beautiful sunrises on the beaches with the water and everything that makes me sick.
Outrageous.
It's just
a lovely new photograph on his page.
That's
his cat. Fantastic. That was nice.
Yes. Classic era toys go for a fortune on eBay nowadays, do they? Right, so they might be coming on later then at some point. Hey, I'm in the money. Yeah, so that's brilliant. So thank you. Oh, look, now this is Doug. Great show again, guys. Just after 6 a.m. here down under, because Doug is also down under. Back to sleep for this white mediocre old fart. Off to my intersection now. We'll have a nice rest of the sleep this morning. Have a little bit of a lie in. And thank you for joining us so early for you this morning. Richard, Whoopi Goldberg always wanted to part in Who. Always thought Joe was the Wish version of her.
Well, I've heard rumours she's in one of the Christmas specials, but we'll see when that happens. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think that's going to be, but Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah. I think we should stop using the word special for those, shouldn't we, really?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Just crap would be more honest. Mark, I don't know what's happened if you're having trouble getting notifications. I've no idea. Because I do. I get them all, so I'm not sure what's happening. I think sometimes the platform's a bit odd, to say the least. So I don't know, but anyway, if you've got that bell rung, maybe they'll sort themselves out. Decadent Davis saying, "Get woke, go broke." They're broke, but they keep going and going and going and going. Yes, that's true. That is very, very true, isn't it? Well, listen, everybody, we're going to call it an evening this evening. So thank you so much. Atom is saying to us all, listen, it's a brilliant show. Good luck, everyone, having to review the new show. Won't be fun for you, but we'll tune in to watch the haps on it to be sure. Thank you. We really, really, really appreciate that. And Magic Stew saying, have a pleasant evening, chaps. Thanks for the show. We'll be back again for the next one. Welcome to Who's Views. Magic Stew and anyone else that has found us through this show recently. As Kirsty is saying here, if there's anything that you want to bring to our attention, anything you think that we should include in the show, you can email us. And the email address is whosviews1@gmail.com. That's also the email address to take part in Who's Master. We've had 2 now. I'd love to do another one for next month. I need 2 of you. 2 of you. Come on, come and have a go. It's a laugh. It's a laugh. Go and watch the show, you know. Come and have a laugh and have some fun with us here on the show. But we do appreciate you. So thank you very much. Gentlemen, Ian, Paul, as ever, thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. Thank you for all your yes, thank you to JWC Reviews. Dalek Decimus, definitely we'll be speaking soon. Everybody else that's in there, Simon and Wayne and Mark and Paul. Again, I'm going to say Paul Ranton, the star of our latest Who's Master. Go and have a look at that. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody. It's lovely to see you. Now, don't forget, keep an eye on us, because every time they drop a headline, we're going to be here to talk about it, and we're going to be back very soon, I am sure, with some fun. Let's cheer up on the next one, eh, guys?
All right.
Oh, Delta and the Bannermen.
Delta and the Bannermen on Wednesday, and you never know what else could come along. Never know. Anyway, we'll see you again soon. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.